Jerry, I can once again show what I'm drinking from our favorite
Should I
sponsor.
hold on? Let's go live.
Get, we're not live? Oh no.
No, I mean we're starting soon, but now we're live.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, I
We
wanted
have
to plug our
been
sponsor,
streaming the whole time.
Guinness, which is not a sponsor, but I'm I drink it, so
And you're
you know.
welcome. Don't worry, you
hmm
didn't lose any buyers to our zero
We have
views.
to be careful. You can't actually say someone is sponsoring your
No, of
content
course
when they're
not.
not. They might have there's probably some legal repercussions. So, you know, let's not do that. Jerry, you're back
And
just in
Jerry
time to
was
tell us what you're
spazzing out for a
drinking.
second.
Oh, are we live?
Jerry's thing
Yes.
always looks like it's having some kind of
Yes.
brain-related aneurysm.
So
We
I
started. I
assume.
was testing the alert box for a little bit, and now we are a live feed.
Oh, very nice. And we checked. We can be heard on online.
Yeah, if
Yep.
somebody sends in bits, you'll hear it now.
Cool. I
As opposed
assume
to all the
you're.
bits that people sent that we did not hear from last time. We
Right,
missed all the
exactly.
bits, guys. Yeah.
They don't count if you can't hear them, so unfortunately we got nothing.
Yeah. We don't even have a little bit. We have no bit.
Right,
Jerry,
yeah.
Jerry, what do you drink? Jerry, what are you drinking?
I'm about to open a Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, why is your stuff always so complicated?
It's
My
so
God.
fucking...
It's scary good pumpkin ale. It's pumpkin ale brewed with spices and aged in rum barrels with vanilla
Ooh.
beans.
Look at you embracing like fall and Halloween and everything. You're doing a good
Uh-huh.
job of it.
Yes.
I'm terribly behind. I always pride myself on being the basic bitch of fall. Like I love all my pumpkin spices, but I haven't really done any of that. I'm just drinking my basic Guinness again.
You're just lame.
Isn't
I
Jerry the
mean,
one who has
Guinness
like
is
candy
good.
corn
Guinness is good.
liqueur stuff, weird shit like that?
Oh, I gotta go stuck up on candy corn. It's the best. You know, there's always like that big debate that happens every fall. Like there's two types
Yes,
of people that
of course,
love candy
Peeps
corn and hate candy corn.
and Peeps.
Peeps are okay. Peeps are
Peeps are
okay.
only good for jousting in a microwave.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like
it's
Peeps.
fun. It's fun to explore. They're okay. They're not like like I don't know. Peeps are
You got to open up the
they're
package
hollow.
and let them sit for 2 weeks. And then they get nice and hard, and then they're good and chewy.
But they're
Oh,
not
of
even
course.
made from like real food.
They're not.
No,
Peeps are not.
that's
No,
what makes them delicious.
they are negative nutritional value. There's nothing. Yeah, it is healthier to eat the packaging that they come in rather than eat them.
I am 100%
Yeah, I would rather
aware
have...
that each time I eat one of those, I'm like basically shaving a week off of my lifespan. But hey, they're tasty.
What's
It's
2
the
years to
weeks
your
that I'm
life?
going to be senile and drool on myself anyway. So
Speaking of shaving, no one noticed that I severely trimmed my beard. I'm
Oh,
very
I
offended.
noticed.
It was always like
Mhm.
down here.
Yeah, it was.
It was I was using like number 4 to just lightly trim it, and now I'm all the way like in a number 3 and number 2 on the sides. Look at this.
Wow.
I basically have a baby face.
Oh,
I
look
look
at that.
20 years younger, right? Right, guys? Right?
You
Look at
look
me.
something.
Yeah. No one could even recognize me anymore when I logged on. They're like, "Oh, does Skippy have some younger cousin or brother that we never heard of? Because man, whoever that is, he looks dashing." Well, it's not. It's me, guys. I shaved. Surprise.
You know,
Kevin,
what's
what are you
funny
drinking?
is the first that I'll answer that in a second. But the first time earlier today in the chat when I think Jerry posted a comedian, the first thing I thought of is that Skippy? You know, like based, but the point is the beard size. So now
That
you
man is
no longer
definitely like
associate.
that man is definitely if I was funny, I would be that guy. He's great.
Yeah,
He's
I
awesome.
bet he has lots of listeners on his podcast.
He's got no, but like everything he says, I'm like, he's right. He's right.
I know.
I don't disagree with a single thing he said. Even some of my favorite comics, they bring this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, but really, but
Like extreme irony and sarcasm, but you're like, no, wait, wait, that's not funny. That's real. Oh, is that what you were like the whole
right,
time?
right. No, well, because he's like he's sort of down the road, but he's like really kind of. I'm sorry, he's like middle of the road, but he's legitimately middle of the road. What's his name again, by the way? I keep praising him. I don't even know the name of the
The
comedian. Talking.
Dan Cummins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
like
he has
truly.
151,000 followers on what is this, Instagram? So
Well, he's about to have 150,001. I didn't know he had an Instagram
nice.
account. Yeah. No, he's great because he hates the right wing people and he hates fucking liberals, and that's great. That's exactly where I'm at. I hate both sides. Both are awful, and he but he puts it more eloquently. He doesn't just walk out and say, "Hey, everybody, who here's from Boston? All right, I hate everybody. See ya, good night." Which is basically what I do, but I take 2 hours on here to say it. He does it in a very humorous way. So yeah, Dan Cummins, check him out. Good dude. He
Yeah.
definitely has. I did mention he has a little bit of that Bill Burr energy, and I stand by that. Bill Burr is a little more crass, but this sort of he's also kind of like down the like he strikes me as somebody who's just sort of more rational than either extreme side that you of people that you tend to run into these days. Like he's pro-choice, but he also like he thinks abortions are not great things, and he's sort of like, yeah, it's kind of murder, and and he wasn't too thrilled about like some of the stuff that was going on with the vaccines and masks, but he also was like on a Joe Rogan show and was basically telling Joe Rogan off like, dude, we're not doctors or scientists, shut the fuck up, like people should be taking precautions and like taking this very seriously. But he's also kind of laughing at the people who like the second they wake up slap a mask on and pump themselves full of 5G vaccines. Uh, Speaking of which, it's time to go get a new 5G vaccine, guys. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
new one just
this
came
week,
out.
right?
It's been approved. It
Yeah.
has been approved. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go
Gotta
inject
Actually,
go
I
get
ourselves.
think I
your
probably will.
Fauci ouchie.
Just
or
been a while. You're supposed
Yeah.
to now. You're supposed to every 6 months, right? I mean, if we were to think like flu season, they're like twice as much as flu boosters.
I mean,
Usually it's an
yeah.
annual thing for flu vaccine, but they're saying I remember reading something that said it's more like a 6 month booster.
Yeah, I'm not
No,
doing this every 6 months. No, I'm saying I'm
no,
not
I
doing this
agree
every
with
six
you.
months.
I agree.
I
Like I
don't.
might do
Yeah,
one once a year.
maybe. I
Um,
usually try to get the flu vaccine. I do try to get that. I guess I could add this to the vaccine soup that I get once a year, but considering how I felt the last couple of times after the boosters, yeah, I'm not dealing with it. My my COVID infection when I finally got it, despite all my vaccines and being super careful, was bad, but it wasn't like that much worse than the reaction from the vaccines. I'll be honest. It actually didn't last as long. It was like worse, but it only lasted 2 or 3 days. Whereas the last
that's
couple of
of
times I
course
got
because you
shot,
had the vaccine.
is it though?
Yeah, wait,
Yeah,
the
I mean, yeah,
vaccine
probably.
bothered you for more than 2 days?
Oh, the last two shots I had completely fucked me up. The one of them had me like in miserable pain for a week.
You're kidding. That's fucked up.
No, I told you I'm not
I've
that
Yeah.
funny. I'm not Dan Cummings. I'm telling you things as they are.
Yeah, there's definitely outliers, and you could be one of them, or maybe not. Oh, what the fuck?
What? It's called a notification.
Oh,
What's your
someone's
problem?
following us. No, that
Yeah,
was a
say
real
hello to the nice person.
notification.
Wow.
I love how you're so amazed every time. So,
Dude,
what's
it's the
happening?
first time I've fucking heard it outside of
What?
testing. Sorry.
What happened?
Sorry, new viewer.
Yeah, there we go. Say hello to the nice people. Yeah, see, it's real and it's from Brazil. Hello, welcome from Brazil. What time is it in Brazil right now?
It's yeah,
3, 4 hours after.
maybe no,
Okay,
it
how
would
about this?
be
If you're,
earlier,
it's 9 p.m. Oh,
right?
it's
Oh,
the same time here. There you go. Yeah,
Oh shit.
I guess we're in the same time zone.
yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, but I do want to highlight the fact that I'm pro vaccine. I'm just saying I don't know what sort of schedule I'm going to wind up getting it on. So
Right.
you
How
know,
often you gonna subject yourself to it?
if once again I miss a couple of episodes, apparently I didn't get them often enough. So so there you go.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Yeah, I
was
don't
gonna
remember the
sort of
last time I got mine.
I was going to
It
sort
was
of link it to like, the pneumonia vaccine and the flu vaccine. It's like I don't think I've ever gotten the pneumonia one because I guess I'm not in that age bracket where it matters yet. Um, or it
Here's how
always
bad it is.
matters, but
I didn't know ammonia had a wait. I didn't
yeah.
know pneumonia had a
is
vaccine.
it is it yeah, I think there's a pneumonia one.
Mm.
I don't know.
I
Maybe your doubt is causing me doubt now.
listen.
Anyway,
I go to the nice doctor. I give him my insurance card. He laughs at it because my insurance is terrible, and then he brings out a whole bunch of no. I'm sorry. He goes away. In
I'm
comes in
not
a very
talking
nice
about
nurse
no.
with a tray of needles and says, "You are now going to. I will now insert these into you." And I go, "Sure, why not? You know what you're doing." And then we all have a laugh again about my shitty health insurance.
Does
No,
she
I'm
put
not.
them in your butt?
First of all, I'm not talking about those
Is
kind.
it
I'm
my
talking about
insurance?
the kind
Yes.
you just go to CVS and get at like, during flu season.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
I.
still never
Uh,
heard of an pneumonia vaccine.
okay.
Although I,
Okay. Wait. First of all, pneumonia, not ammonia.
yeah, did I
If
say
anyone,
ammonia? What?
if anyone is injecting ammonia into your body, please stop going to this
Well,
immediately.
that's what Trump gets. He gets his ammonia, like, right, and some bleach
Ammonia.
and
Now it's ammonia. He's using a
It's
different
ammonia.
vowel each time.
That sounds like a Michael Jackson thing. Like, yeah, come on,
uh,
ammonia.
What the fuck?
you're the worst. Absolutely the worst. Anyway, look, I just came here to talk about Starfield. That's what I'm saying. I just want to talk Starfield. I want to, and at some point, Kevin promised to finally play Starfield. I love how you bought Game Pass like 2 weeks ago so you can play Starfield and you haven't even fired it up.
Dude, I was away glamping in the middle of Vermont for half a week.
That sounds horrible. Starfield is way
Right
better
when
than
it
that.
came out, too. So now I had
Yeah.
to.
Well, you have a Switch, not a Switch, Steam Deck. So
I know. Well, that would have been. I didn't have it on Steam, so it's on the Xbox. Um, but yeah, like getting back home,
No.
now I'm working and paying attention to that crap. Try to catch up,
Stop
and
adul-
then
Stop adulting.
yeah,
I
right,
have a job. I
doing
have a
the
child,
adulting thing.
and yet I also somehow have a bunch of hours in Starfield. You don't see me making fucking excuses.
Yeah.
She's like 3 at this point. She pretty much takes care of herself.
yeah. Honey, you know where the keys are. Go drive yourself to daycare.
We taught her how to use the microwave. She knows not to put not. She knows to unwrap the sandwich from the foil before she puts it into the microwave. She's
There
done
you
that
go.
successfully, and that's it. She's fine. It's all right. She has to climb on top of the oven to get to the microwave, and sure, sometimes she turns it on by accident, but then she realizes that the surface is hot, and the screams get me to turn off the game and come help her. See,
There's
Well,
a
that's
that's how it
story.
works.
My
And
mom used to tell the story of when I was like 2, climbing
Why?
on a
Why does
chair
this
and
this
turning
none
all
of what I
the.
just said should ever remind you of actual live events?
Yeah, no, it did. Where I was
Uh,
literally like pretending to cook, and I had every single burner on the oven on high. So I mean, as the story goes, my mom would walked out because she smelled burning while she was asleep. And what happened was some spatula fell on one of the burner edge, and it was like burning the plastic rubbery
plastic.
handle.
Oh,
And
that's a
a 2-year-old is
lovely
just like,
smell.
hi, mommy. Yeah, that's it.
oh my
Well,
god.
at least it was that, and you weren't like didn't just turn on the burner so that all the gas was coming out and let it
Oh,
sit
it
for
was
a half an
electric.
hour.
No,
And
this was electric. So they were all
oh,
glowing
okay.
bright orange in the middle of the night.
We had a different story
Then there
when
was
we
time I stuck a fork in that
oh my
outlet. That
god.
was fun.
Oh, oh well, every kid does
That
that.
explains
I
things.
still do that because the sparkers are fun. You get like a light show every time you do it. It's great. No, we had a different problem when my wife, well, at the time she wasn't my wife, but when we lived back in Pennsylvania in Conshohocken, we had a gas oven, and from time to time we would one of us would find that the oven was turned, so it wasn't lit, but it was like seeping gas basically, and we would get into like fights, like you forgot to turn the oven off, you didn't turn it off all the way, you did this, you did that, and then one day we saw what was actually happening because we caught the actual culprit in action.
With the
Our
cat.
our fucking cat was reaching up to the burner, and because they were like really light, I guess, and just flicking him just a little bit, he was somehow attracted to
He's
them, and he would
trying to
flick it ever so
kill the
lightly.
Shiny.
humans.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
I'm
that
fucking
was a
tired of
fucking
these humans. let me get rid of them.
Wow.
yeah. And then he
Oh,
would
there's
just
a
flick it a couple
fucking.
of times, just enough to get the gas going, then just saunter off like
That's
nothing was
funny.
going on.
Looks like a.
That
Sounds like
that
a Rick and Morty episode.
those are cats for you. Cats will literally try to murder you, just
He's like,
immensely all the time.
I might lose up a couple of my lives, but I'll use up all of theirs.
Yeah, basically.
Dude, I saw in the news last night, I think it was, or maybe a couple days ago, someone stole a car, drove it into someone's house. Now, like when they drove it into the house, they broke the gas line. And like 3 hours later, something happened and the whole house exploded, but there was
Oh my god.
nothing left. It was fucking leveled. It was ridiculous.
Holy
It
crap!
it looked like someone dropped a bomb on them.
Were
Okay.
they in the house?
No one was in the house. Everyone was safe.
Oh, that's
Wait.
good.
But
Hold on. He drove the car into their house, broke a
yeah,
gas line. No
yes.
one inspected the house after the car crashed into it?
I don't know.
No one
Have
noticed the smell of gas?
I mean, he
don't
only
Does it
read. He
know
gave
the
us the bullets, and he went
details.
from start to finish, right? So somewhere in the middle, you fill in.
You know all that I know now.
I
But
feel like there might be details missing because when you rupture a gas line, it's not like you're like, "Hey, is that gas?" You walk up to it and you're like, "Oh my god, that's fucking gas." Jesus.
right, but
Fucking-
I I guess people weren't in the house. Maybe whoever drove the car, like it was a stolen car. So my guess is they
No, but I'm saying didn't the
ran
cops come out?
off.
Didn't the
I
cops
don't
come out?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I don't believe this
I'm
story. I
just
think you made this
telling
up.
you what
I don't buy your
Totally
bullshit. This is
working you.
no.
You already
I don't
told
believe
us
this
you have no
story.
idea.
This story's crap. You
Stop
made
it.
this up. No, you wanted to be part of the conversation about ovens blowing up in a household, and you had nothing good to share, so you made up this bullshit
Yeah,
story.
that was a shit share, man.
I bet if I Google right now, car drove into house, explode gas line. I don't know why I would type that phrase to Google it instead of using proper grammar, but I probably would come out with nothing,
You
or
could
I'd come up with
think
like
of
fifty
almost
thousand
any
stories.
weird incident and Google it, and maybe it happened once within the last 20 years.
Yeah, Jerry, why don't you come up with something better next time? Something a little more
Fine.
like believable.
Aliens came down, and
And they left the oven on.
Yeah, but
yes,
you know that's
exactly.
in the news. That is in the news, so
I'm
for sure we
sure.
could find that shit.
What, aliens? Aliens aren't
Yeah,
real. Stop it. They're not real.
until they actually talk to us.
But you know what is but you know except in Starfield, that's where aliens are real. And that is
Yes.
and I would like to talk about that
Bring us
because
back. Bring
Starfield.
us back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to get Starfield out of the way so that I can just go, I can just leave and you guys can talk about what did you want to talk? Oh, you wanted to talk about that imaginary power source, LK99, right? That's
It's
what
not
you
a
wanted
power
to bring
source.
to.
Dude, we're not talking batteries and shit.
I'm sorry. Okay, before we get started, okay, please correct me. What is LK99?
A superconducting material, allegedly.
Okay.
But what's special is it would be room temperature, not the like sub-zero, absolute zero type temperature superconductors.
Okay.
And
But
like
that's
if they make
but that
them
was
in
but that was
circuits
already
or PC
hang on.
chips, then it'd be like low power usage. It wouldn't have any heat.
But they already said that but okay, but all the people that came out and disproved that study, how does this make any like different? Okay, I'm sorry. Jerry, learn how to post links.
Dude,
Sorry, back to you.
that's the link that I copied from
You
from
gotta
the
short. You
Googs.
gotta short it.
I don't want
Whoever
to short it because then I'm like,
okay, whoever made Jerry moderator is fired. Also, Jerry, you're fired
here, wait. Let's
as
just
moderator. Anyway, I'm
do
sorry.
this.
Anyway, so it is an imaginary superconductor that
So let
doesn't
me.
exist. And
So what it is one lab in Korea did some. I don't even think they were looking for superconductor, but what had happened was they were investigating this sort of low resistance scenario. In we're talking about like a highly processed manufactured type of material where you're just getting lumps of stuff, right? So then you're doing all kinds of scientific study, blah 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 blah, and then they get into a couple of things there that they were uncertain about, and then they
I think
wrote a
Jerry
bunch of
passed out.
papers.
Sorry, his avatar
Uh,
went perfectly still, and I heard a
and
loud
a
thump.
thud, like his head fell forward or
Yeah.
something. Um, so long story short, they do a post. They publish into the scientific journals. What is it? Archive or whatever that thing is, where they do it for peer review. Now you got to remember, publishing is like, hey, we discovered this thing. This is what we did, and they like started to do patents and all this other stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. And then, obviously we've people have been crying wolf forever about freaking special materials like this. So it's like a couple of labs take on the project and they like make these materials that have the composition, but essentially you have um, impurities that form in it. So like every lab's getting a different version of the same material. Um, and so what's happening is it's more about the Korean lab is saying that it needs to be done a special way because we're only getting this like blah 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 science talk about this like thin film. That's the superconducting form of the material. You can't use all this bulk bullshit that all like nobody's listening to us. So they're like, okay, hold on, we'll refine our paper to show you exactly how to get the like specific minute trace of the material. And so that's in process, and everyone's like, well, there are theories and computational analysis that says it could be theoretically possible, blah blah blah, and like most of the labs are like, no no no, and then other there, but there's always this little glimpse of physics theory that's like, wait, it could be. So now, and the Koreans haven't given up on it. Like they haven't like, oh, our mistake. They're like, no, no, no. You guys are all. No, we don't know what you're making, but it's not what we're testing. And so they're
Oh,
trying to
okay, fair enough.
refine, let's say, not process, but like the actual what they're specifically talking about in the elemental composition that gets the result that they're talking about.
But
And
isn't the point? But isn't the point of these publications, which lead to peer review, isn't the whole point that they list all the specifics? So how could
yeah,
the other labs be
absolutely.
reproducing? How could they be reproducing it incorrectly?
Well, because what's happening is they're saying, imagine if you had, like molecule notation, where the scientific notation where they'll do like the atomic symbols with lines of bonding the molecule composition. So they like have that kind of a
Sure, of
thing.
course I know it. Who doesn't know what that is?
So
I,
essentially, if they do a material composition that's essentially an alloy, you're going to have impurities, and so every single batch is going to come out different. And so what they said is, no, 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 it's not just make this batch and test it. Of course, it's not going to work. What you have to do is it has to be this specific refined part of it. And so they had to go into more details of how to get the ore that they're talking about. And they have such a small, tiny sample. It's not like they can ship samples to people or like otherwise. I mean, that would even break the control because like you want scientific method from start to finish. You don't want to introduce uncertainties from like, oh, we shipped it and now like
I
it
say, okay.
changed. So
But
every lab
why?
needs to do it from scratch.
But I mean, like, are I guess why do they have such a small sample? Is it that difficult to make, or because if it is, then that
I don't want to sort of devolve
that could be a
into,
problem.
yeah, no. So top top level is, they made a claim that it's room temperature. So I'll get to sort of your answer real quick, but like the point of me bringing it up is it's actually one of these, you know random post that you go, oh shit, it's not actually 100% ruled out yet. And this real the whole thing that's exciting is room temperature means you just you put it on a CPU, and now your CPU uses like a fraction of a watt
Okay.
because it
Right.
doesn't
Okay.
burn heat. So like
Right.
it uses it, but it doesn't waste heat. In other words, most of that wattage is just burning temperature.
Right.
So
Hmm.
whatever, like it has huge consequences is the point of that. So it's like, all right, huge reputable labs, um, published, no, this isn't a superconductor, it doesn't work that way. And what's happening is like now there's sort of dialogue back and forth, and it's a slow process because even the Korean lab took like whatever years worth of not it's not manufacturing at scale. They're doing lab manufacturing, which is like evaporate this metal and you get a gas, and like the gas has to like condense onto a glass tube, like weird um parts of the process that make it very hard to make. That's the part, right? So explaining every level of the physics down to those like the minutia of production is what the lab is now trying to do to counter everybody. And boil it all down though, it is still a pipe dream, right? And we are sort of getting a lot of false hope things. Like, I mean, how many fucking years has it been? Cold fusion was in the 80s, right? Like people talking
Oh,
about it, or
that's right around the corner.
yeah, so like forever. And so anytime people bring this up, we need to have an unbiased sort of, yeah, fuck you, there's no way you found this, because then we'll never get there if we all always believe it's impossible, right? So I'm
But
just saying it's cool because they every time there's somebody who counters it, it's not 100% proof. They're just saying, yeah, no, we didn't get it also. Well, that's not proof that it's not real. The proof that it's not real is doing multiple labs doing exactly the same and finding out why it's the tests are coming out with those numbers, those results.
Okay.
I guess, but I would think that they would have been that specific from the beginning, or if you're making a scientific paper, you would have had to have done that. And like, I could imagine other labs reaching out to them and go, "Hey, we're not getting this,"
You know what though?
before
That's not
they're
true.
publishing papers.
That's ideal, but the physics, let's say industry, because it's no it's commercialized. No one researches physics because they love it. Even universities are, where are the grants coming from? Who's going to support what kind of what's going
Wait,
on with you think?
what is going on with you?
So
What the hell
I
is
took
so
a
that?
I took a drink.
so because science is actually political, that shit
Yeah.
isn't going to do anything. Like
Sir, it's very distracting.
if
I'm sorry, Kevin.
investors
Go
don't
ahead.
give you money to try, the physicists give up and go away, and then we actually don't have progress. That's actually been the state of physics for almost 100 years.
Right.
But shit's starting to break through in terms of like graphene and blah blah blah. Anyway, I don't want to burn this into the ground, but like there's enough articles that are like, but wait, where I'm like, really? Wait, really?
Mm.
And I do the double take. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, until you get a lot of green lights on out of all the labs, you're right. It's like totally dreamy and whatever. I
Yeah.
I love that shit, so that's why I pay attention to it. But
It's cool to follow it along. I mean, there's plenty of technologies that I followed through the years that never came to be. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting enough. Yeah,
I
just
got
keep us
all
updated.
the stories.
Just keep
Yeah.
us updated. Yeah, just
I,
keep us updated because
Hmm.
I don't really have faith in it, but I'd be it's one of those things that I'd be very happy to be proven wrong about it.
yeah,
Yeah. I
I feel
mean,
like if something like
I
this was
won't, but
remotely possible, like everyone would be all over it.
well,
well,
first of all,
then
they
yeah,
are, but mainstream doesn't
right.
think.
You
Don't go
also
to
get
that,
into
everyone.
You also get into conspiracy theories where, like, well, you know, the most powerful people in the world don't want this stuff to exist because that takes power away from them. So you
Of
need to be
course.
dependent on the energy. Energy dependence is one of the best ways for, you know, for
Well, I
control.
told
So
you it's political because there's absolutely like people are analyzing the timing that they went to register the patent and when they published.
right. Well,
Like
there you
if
go.
you think if you like science is not fucking, without its politics and it's actually kind of fucked up the state of it these days,
Well,
but
who was it? Well, who was it? Who was it saying that years ago when they were talking about graphene and all this other shit? There was actually they were interviewing a bunch of scientists who were like, "Oh, there's some really cool stuff that we can do with this," and they were like, "Yeah, we were our researcher basically we were literally told to hold some of our research back by the powers that be because you know the world wasn't ready for it yet. They weren't, you know, they have to make sure that there's a way that, you know, the correct people can benefit from it and retain that level of power and financial dominance. Whereas, you know, because God forbid, you know, the poor's get access to any of this stuff.
yeah,
So, you know,
exactly.
Yeah, we don't want one of those post
yeah.
scarcity societies because there are no billionaires in that.
Yeah, I'm amazed they let me put solar panels on my roof. I really am. I mean, sure, you know, Duke Energy controls that shit and steals most of the energy that I make and keeps it. And I'm basically generating free power for them at this point. But, you know, still,
Wait,
thanks.
Well, yeah,
you
I
don't
mean, let's not
you
get
don't
into
know?
that, but yeah.
Yeah,
You do realize that solar panels are just to catch the signals from the Jewish satellites that are controlling everyone. And like right now they're trying to this whole climate change crisis is fake. That's just to get people to put solar
Jerry,
panels on all their houses.
Jerry,
So
Jerry. I know about the Jewish satellites. Come on, man. These are
oh
my, my people sent them up there. You're welcome.
so you're just testing, you're testing it, like, yep, the broadcast
Yeah,
received,
yeah.
everything's good, like,
Mhm.
go and take over the world.
Yeah, the
They
little
they have to
the
recalibrate
satellite.
for every new vaccine that comes out. You know that.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's such a
yeah,
pain in the ass.
yeah. Although we really just put it in the matzah. So
Let's get let's go.
wait, wait till I tell you what dreidels really are. Oh man! Every time you spin it, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, you're
All
welcome.
right.
Anyway,
Get us back into Starfield. And speaking of satellites,
oh, so you know, Starfield is interesting. It's one of those things. Every time I tell anybody about it, like I go on this rant, and they're like, "Oh, wow, really? So you're like done with it, right? You're gonna uninstall it? It sounds terrible." And I'm like, "Oh no, this is one of the best games ever. I can't stop playing it." It's like when you tell your friends about like when you're dating somebody, and uh, and they're like really attractive and amazing in intimate situations, but you tell them about all the problems they have and all the, you know, drug addictions they have and all the like all the daddy issues that they have and all this other crap, and they're like, wow, this person sounds terrible, you're totally going to break up with them, right? And you're like, what? No, I'm going to marry this
No,
person, are you
no, I
kidding me?
proposed last night.
Yeah, yeah, meet the new Mrs. Skippy. Like, yeah, so Starfield,
Mrs. Skippy? Is that is that a river
miss
and a
miss
state? And
that's nice,
oh my
Mrs.
god,
Skippy.
I did my pun brain didn't even catch that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I always don't know. I kind of don't know where to start with Starfield because it's so I okay. I do have to bookend it with I do love this game. I am thoroughly enjoying every minute of it, but it is through and through a Bethesda game. So if you like Bethesda games, you are going to fucking love this. If you hate Bethesda games, chances are you will not like this. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you may or may not like it. That's what being in the middle
It's
basically
always a
means.
love-hate
So,
relationship with the Bethesda games. I
sort
mean,
of. It's
sometimes more one way than the other, but
what I would recommend is that a lot of the hate that sort of came out about this game, especially like from the launch date, was completely baseless bullshit. It was from people who already like made assumptions about it, who built up idiotic hype and expectations, and then when it didn't do those things, they're like, "Oh, see, we told you it didn't do this," or "See, we told you it can't do that." Um, just ignore all that fucking noise. The best thing I can say is that if you played previous Bethesda games, definitely give this a try. You'll like it. If you haven't, just try it out and figure it out for yourself.
I
Um,
thought most of the articles and stuff were pretty positive, and even like the early reviewers are like, "Hey, this is pretty good." And the
no, I
only
meant
review bombing that's happening like recently was because it's like not out on Xbox or I mean PlayStation or whatever.
so a lot of the stuff actually was built from that idiotic Xbox versus PlayStation fanboy bullshit. Whereas, the Xbox people were screaming like, "This is the game of the generation. It's gonna blow everything that came out before it away." And the PlayStation people are like, "This is gonna be crap. This is gonna be another Redfall. This game is gonna be terrible. Blah blah blah." There's already games that do this better, and they also began building this narrative of like, oh, it's going to be like Skyrim and like No Man's Sky and like all this other stuff. They started making these comparisons to other games that Bethesda never made. They never said like, oh yeah, our game is like No Man's Sky, for example. So when the game came out, the people that were already like screaming how this game is terrible before they even got to play it, they immediately started pointing to things that like you can't do in this game like you can do in games like No Man's Sky. Like
Right.
you
They
can't
compare it and
just
like this is this gold standard now. Everyone must do this.
right, but it was never advertised as that.
Yeah.
It is a space exploration game, but there's various ways to do exploration. Yes, No Man's Sky has like the most direct immersive sort of way where you wherever you want to get to, you have to physically go there. Like they do a fast travel through things you can build, but for the most part, if you want to get to that planet up in the sky, you gotta get a functional ship, you gotta get in it, you gotta fly it up, fly it towards the planet, land it, get out, and do whatever the hell you want to do. Whereas Starfield is not like that at all, like at all. It is nothing like No Man's Sky. There's no, with the exception of the fact that there's space. They both takes place in space for chunks of the game. Yeah, they take place in space and then exploration of planets, and you can also mine for resources. That's it. Those are the only two similarities between those two games. Everything else is completely different. No Man's Sky is a gigantic sandbox. You do whatever the hell you want. You can build bases. You can fly around aimlessly. You can collect resources. You can build stuff. You can go here. You can go there. You can explore. You can be a pirate. You can, whatever you want to do. Starfield allows for some of that flexibility, but essentially because it is an RPG, there is a story there. There is sort of a goal, and there's a thing. Uh, there is sort of there is a purpose to this, to what you're doing. It's not. It has sandbox elements, but it's not just a sandbox that you grind through to get a ton of resources to do whatever the hell you feel like. Um, so anyway, so that's like where a lot of the negativity came
You
from, where
realize
people
like
right
the
away.
biggest part about it, you gotta. I mean, people are going and doing all that comparison stuff that you just went through, but this is Bethesda. They have the same fucking RPG engine that they've been using since Skyrim and before that, and
Oh, I was going to bring that up.
all it is like a map in Fallout, except it's all space and planets that you
Mm-hmm.
would just, and it's still the fast travel or whatever. And like by going to a planet, you're just in like a dungeon crawl or like, a
Yeah,
vault or like a
yeah.
special location. That's all. It's the same. I'm talking about like from a dev level. The game was built with the same engine and the same way they structure stuff. And it's like, okay, RPG. It's a matrix of levels that they just load up. Or in the
Mm-hmm.
open world, it's run around. Yeah, I mean, in Starfield, is there a similarity where you could technically fly from one corner of the map to the other, or is it like the distance is actually on the scale of like galaxies, so that like your speed would never catch up, and they don't even
No,
bother?
you no,
You know what I
you're
mean? Like you
always
could run from
yeah.
one end. It could take you an hour to do it, but you could run from
So
one end of the map to the other in any of their older games.
no, think of Starfield. You're almost in like not confined spaces, but you're in designated spaces. So, for example, uh, let me break this into two different sections. When you go into space, if when you get into your ship and you fly off the surface of the planet into space,
Right. Orbit.
you're not doing right. You're right. You're in orbit nearby the planet that you left. You're not. You can then, as you pan around, you see other planets. You don't fly towards those planets. You're in this space now, in this sort of box next to this planet, and then you engage in whatever activity is going on there. So whether
Like a
you can,
base or some pirates where you're dogfighting or
right,
blah blah blah.
right, or like there's
Asteroids maybe.
asteroids or things like
Yeah,
that,
and
or
you do
there's
mining.
specific events that happen at this planet. You can't if you right you can't at some point go, oh, that thing off in the distance, I'm going to fly to it, and you point your ship to it and you press a button and you go. You're going to be sitting there forever. You will never get there. um
Do you actually
so
hit like a part of space that's a invisible wall, like the end of that local map?
no, no, you pretty much, from what I understand, you just fly endlessly forever. Nothing really. So somebody did some weird experiment where they tried to fly towards a planet and they were just like right next to it. And something they said after like 7 hours, they actually finally
Yeah, hit the
hit it.
two-dimensional icon of it.
Right, right. So they didn't actually hit the planet. They flew kind of through it because it's not actually there.
Hmm.
It's sort of like like you're basically interacting with a beautiful background that can sort of scale ever so slightly,
Yeah.
but you're not actually flying. If I had to make any comparison, I would actually wouldn't use No Man's Sky. I would use something like Mass Effect. So like Mass Effect, especially the third one, if you wanted to, Mass Effect was more linear, but there was a specific story you were listening to. There wasn't really that much
It
roaming
wasn't
around.
open
So,
world, but I understand what you're talking
yeah,
about.
Mass Effect was like a more linear version of this, where you would go to, let's say, a location, and somebody would say, "Hey, we need like an alien artifact from this other planet," and you would go to a star map. You would fly your ship via star map to this other planet. You would then have the planet view where it shows the planet and a couple of landing zones. You pick a landing zone, you land there, you get out of your ship, and you explore in that area, making your way towards your destination. That's essentially what this is. No Man's Sky, you can land your ship wherever you want on a planet.
Yeah.
Starfield, you can't. You can only land on certain landing zones. So guess what? There was a mission where I'm currently on Mars, where I was in the base. I come out, I look at the place that I need to go, and it's like a 5 minute fucking run from the base. In No Man's Sky, you could get into your ship and fly over there. In Starfield, you're walking.
Hmm.
There's no way to get.
Because you're only on the planet.
If you
I heard that they
right,
don't have any
you
ground
can.
vehicles
You can't. Right, they don't. Which, and the reason they provide
or
is
animals
that
or
I'll
mounts or
give it.
whatever.
It's yeah, it's bullshit. The reason they provide for that is bullshit. Todd Howard, the director of the game, said because we wanted people to really explore, and vehicles they could just quickly get there and they would miss the exploration part.
Yeah, bullshit.
Except you can fast travel. So
Yeah.
mm, no, that reason is bullshit.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so yeah, you can. But the thing is, you'd really be doing yourself a disservice. There's plenty of places where you actually do want to explore, and you do find really cool shit. One of the first missions, and maybe you'll get to that when you play the game a little bit later tonight, Kevin, is you are sent to a planet to deal.
No
This is one.
spoilers.
It's not. It's this really early. It's this really early in the game, and I'm
I'm
actually
gonna
not
go to a
telling you anything
different
that's going to
planet just
spoil
on
it.
purpose.
You can't actually, because what they do is they send you to they tell you to go somewhere very specific, because there's like space pirates and you need to basically deal with them in order to proceed along to the next mission. I landed on a planet and I heard that this game was linear, and sure, when you get off the ship, you have this little robot with you, and he's like, "Oh, this is where we go and proceed straight. Go to that base over there." But as soon as I climbed on top of some rocks, I saw like a whole bunch of structures off in like different directions, and I just ran off and started exploring those, and I found a whole bunch of other shit, including one of the hardest apparently enemies in the game that completely just destroyed me instantly. But that's what I mean. So it has that sense of exploration. Just you just have to understand
It's
that
just a
it's not
local
the
map.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how big that map is. It took me, I mean, I spent a good 2 or 3 hours running around just that one planet, because you also find bases there that have buildings and multiple floors with multiple rooms with a bunch of shit to find. You find all new technologies. You find, again, enemies that that you're pretty much not prepared
So
for.
this is the
Weapons,
trade-off.
suits.
They have decent RPG content, and if every planet has this like extensivity of exploration, the trade-off is procedurally generated like flying literally like a transition from ground to space, and then, in other words, you could technically slow travel anywhere the content is. But the all that's different is like maybe you can't put as many, let's say, significant locations within a local region, whereas Bethesda's engine can, because you're literally just writing each one, designing the terrain around it. So it's
Possibly,
like
and it
it's
gets even
smaller worlds, but enough content in each one to make them feel like an
yeah.
expansive
I,
planet.
I
And then
could
there's
Keep in mind
2,000
also in
more.
No Man's Sky, the planets aren't exactly, I don't want to say to scale, but you can fly around a planet in No Man's Sky very quickly. The planets
Sure.
are tiny.
Hmm.
Whereas here, the whole point is that this is a real full size planet. If you actually try to walk around it, because there's no vehicles, you couldn't, it would literally take you years to whatever, months, years to actually do so. So they put you in a location where there's a ton to explore. There's no shortage of places to go or things to see.
Yeah.
If you're somehow looking at this and going, "Oh, but I want to run around this big," and keep in mind, by the way, the environments and the areas on the planets actually are different. No Man's Sky, you land on a planet and it is procedurally generated, but that whole planet is that one biome, basically, right?
Right.
You have those 3 or 4 creatures, you have the 3 or 4 different plants, plant lives, and you have the surface is basically identical throughout the entire thing, right? Here, planets will have different biomes on them
Yeah.
and different
The
things,
you know
completely
how
different
it
things to explore. And there's also like underground. You'd go deep underground in some of them. Some one mission I had to climb this gigantic fucking tower miles in the sky where I had to literally do platforming. And as I said, right after that, I had to go multiple levels into a fucking mine to find this one asshole. So
But you know
there's
how
a
you in the
lot more to
beginning you
it.
were saying, like, people are like expectations. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. It's all like the difference of experience and like the play experience. There's no lack of content, is what I'm hearing you say. It's just massively,
No, no,
RPG rich.
There,
no people.
there's an overwhelming amount of shit to do. It's the point where I'm getting a little annoyed because every time it was a thing like where I had like one quest and I just started talking to people that I ran into, and suddenly I have like 40 quests on my mission log that I don't even know how the fuck I'm ever going to get to. There's so much to do. It's
You
insane.
know what?
And it's
You
a
know what's
variety of stuff to
Sounds
do.
like our D&D campaign.
yeah.
Shut up, nerd. Through D&D.
uh anyway, I think
So, no,
like stuff that games that have that sort of active piloting thing appeal to a certain, gamer type, where they love the flying around, like one of the just a quick idea. Dyson sphere. Those planets were relatively tiny, but your mech could literally fly into space, and it would
right,
transition, and then you can go between galaxies when you finally upgrade to like warp drives. So it's like you literally pilot to every location. There's no fast
right,
travel.
right.
Whereas
It's
in this one, it's all fast travel, but the content is massive.
yeah.
At each
Yeah, you
location,
wouldn't. Yeah,
which
you
gives
don't
you
need to. I don't
that
know
People
why
sense of a
you.
rich
feel
environment.
no, people feel like they're being taken out of the moment or the environment or whatever. It's like, we have no loading screens. We have no fast
Yeah,
travel. It's like
yeah,
you
that
are
was
in the
sold for a long
environment,
time.
and like, like you're saying, it's like six of one, half a dozen of another. Like
Yeah,
here you're not getting like the same rehash content with like two parameters change. What you
right,
experience is all hand sculpted, or
Right.
right.
Yeah.
it's
It's
someone
just a
put
different
time
kind of
into it.
game. Yeah,
Right.
it's
It's
more
not
like
meant to
switching
be.
genre. Yeah.
It's not meant to be immersive. You're not supposed to feel like you are running around as an astronaut, like again, like you do in No Man's Sky. That's not what this is. Please, if that's like
It's
no,
like MMO or RPG
it is. It is
essentially.
an RPG. You can't be playing. It's like playing Final Fantasy VII and saying, "What? I have to scroll through menus." Well, this isn't immersive at all. Yeah, it's not trying to be.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
right.
different.
Yeah.
It's a
So,
different kind
but
of game.
anyway, it
But I have
must
more
be
to
one
say
of
about
those things where you're like, oh, fuck this article that says shit about, Starfield, and it's like Google picks that up, and now you get ads that only give you, freaking curated negative reviews. So it's like you say it
it.
once, and the Matrix happens, and that's all you see.
Right. Yeah.
When my experience is actually like, holy shit, Bethesda's just not getting shit on by anybody, and
Well, no,
I
the
was
first.
like surprised.
Well, my thing is that I mean, for all its faults and whatever, like the first review that I saw was from IGN. Yes, I visit IGN. I know IGN is like the CNN of gaming news. Like I don't take them seriously. I don't think anybody does, to be honest.
Mm.
And their review was one of the first ones to go, and they are one of the bigger publications. So their review was us like they gave the game a 7, and that caused a massive fucking shitstorm uh, from both sides. The Xbox fanboys are screaming, "How dare you!" They're like digging up all the dirt on this guy who wrote the review, and they're like,
Jesus.
"Here's a picture of him. He was dressed up as God of War for Halloween. He's a PlayStation fanboy. I can't believe they got this guy to review it."
Oh my
And
god.
yeah, like shit like that. It
But
is insane. And the thing is, like, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, yeah, the guy does have like I read like people are like, well, here's some of his other reviews if you need any input on this guy. And yeah, I have to say, like, his taste in games is shit. Like, he really gave some really terrible games some really high scores, and he gave some really good games some mediocre or low scores. I mean,
every
that doesn't make his opinion about this game any less valid. You don't have to
yeah.
agree with it. I don't, but I I don't think if they got
The
a
thing
different
is
reviewer that
like
gave this game a 10, I would disagree with that person as well. This game is not a fucking 10, not even close. This game has a ton of problems, and I was going to get to those next, but
but the thing that's in this day and age, you got like, a bazillion opinionators all with their own,
yeah,
ABC
everybody's a
journal.
blogger.
Yeah, because
It's like everybody has a podcast and a
but
Twitch
Fucking
stream.
douchebags.
Yeah, like shut. No one cares.
it's,
Shut the fuck. Go spend time with your family. You fucking loser.
actually play a game instead of fucking just only talking about it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're just dreaming about playing games. What the fuck?
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
is actually kind of fucking ironically true. Uh,
Please like and
but
subscribe.
but like the better experience I find is like to shock on all the journals and like let the freaking AI, and say 23% of the stupid critics say it's shit, and 43, and like we have to like statistically analyze all the freaking opinions to get an actual. I wonder what the world thinks. You know what I mean? Like to get any kind of
Well,
thing out of it, or we
right. You
just
also
don't
have to
bother and
realize
come up with your own opinion. That
you
always
also have to
works.
realize these articles and reviews are written specifically for clicks. This was the perfect score for IGN. This was the perfect score to give a
Yeah,
game because
right.
they're sort of saying like it's good, but it's not great, which meant so that means that everybody who was prepared to hate this game was like, we told you it wasn't gonna be great. We told you it's shit. See everything he says about it, it's shit. 7 is a shit score. While the other people are just like, no, it's actually good, and this guy's an asshole, and a 7 is a good score, and he didn't really play it, and his mom is fat, and like all this stuff. It's like they basically just they literally just tossed like a firecracker into a crowd and then just left and just to see
Oh,
what
sure.
happened. And
Yeah.
yeah, that
Even if I was like, oh my god, I know this is going to be the greatest game ever, and then
right.
I see them release a 7. What? Why is that a 7? Well, I better look at this and see what's going on before I throw my money down or whatnot.
Right, and then you go, and then if you make the mistake of looking at the comments, where you're like, "Well, I wonder what people thought," and you're like, "Oh my god!" And it's just like
Yeah.
this. I think the comments are still going on that thread. It's been like a couple of weeks or something, and people are still yelling at each other nonstop in that fucking review. What also doesn't help things is the fact that IGN exists in different countries. So you have like IGN Europe and like IGN Japan. They all gave the game tens.
You just gotta
Oh,
So
stop
really?
doom
so that
scrolling
that
IGN
only
because now they suck.
yeah, so now that only helps fuel it because people are like, the good IGNs understand
It's a
games, and
good
they
idea.
like, and it's just non fucking stop. It's hilarious. Now, as I was saying, um, even though the game is a lot of is a ton of fun, and I really am enjoying the shit out of it. Like, I absolutely love it. I don't want to say like much more about it. Uh, uh, as far as the gameplay is concerned, because I don't want to spoil it. There is as I mentioned off camera, there is a baffling amount of just bad stuff about it. And again, it comes back to it being a Bethesda game. For one, I don't know why they're still using the same goddamn engine. This engine is old as shit. It was the same one they used. I know they updated it, but it's technically still the same engine that they used for like Skyrim. And I think they used it for Fallout 4, used it for Fallout 76, which I know, Kevin, is an amazing game, but still. And then I think they might have actually used it for Fallout
I
3
wonder
as
if my
well.
base is still there.
for your
How
sake,
is
for your sake, I hope it's not. So it's when you look at him, those same, even though they improved the
Yeah,
facial animations, the
inventory.
characters the characters
yeah?
still
What's
look
so?
completely dead-eyed when you talk to them. They're
How does inventory work that makes it so shitty?
It's
okay. So
it's
there's
like it's like a text-based
it's
freaking
really basic and
old school
useless.
game where you're like using your keys to move up and down
Oh, you
through
just
like
have a
different
list.
yeah, or if you have like, let's say, think about any other RPG where at least you have inventory where you can be like armor, weapons. Now, I'm not saying they can't filter, but
No,
like
they
the
do. No.
you
They
yeah,
do.
I
They
know
do.
they do,
They
but
are broken down, but it's still useless
it's
because you have to
elements
literally
of the
collect.
UI suck. It's like that basically
Yes,
Mhm.
bad.
it all comes down to yes, the UI in this game is horrendous. First of all, I don't understand why. There's no. How should I put this? Okay. In order to get into there's no like inventory button. You have to press the menu button, then scroll this wheel over to inventory, and then you click on inventory, and yeah, it's just a list of items. And as you roll over each one, you can only see individual items. You see a gigantic picture of that item. For I don't know why you need to really see it. And then oh, and you can rotate it, but okay. And then you see some basic stats on it. That it doesn't help you, for example, in a sense that let me give you an example. Why it sucks, right? So you have a bunch of different weapons. You can have like there's like handguns, there's machine guns, there is like laser weapons, and there's like
Mhm.
melee weapons, right? As in any RPG, as you're running around and killing people, you're picking up like 40 different guns and 20 different rifles and all the shit. So if you open up your inventory, you just have an endless fucking list of weapons and guns. So if you want to, let's say, swap them out and say, oh, let's see if anything is better, you
There's no way to do that.
no, here's the thing. If you roll over a weapon, you can say there's a key that says compare to what you have equipped. The problem is, in order to play this game correctly, and because there's sometimes a shortage of ammunition, you key a bunch of weapons to your like hotbar, to your favorite bars, right?
Mhm.
So that you can switch from a handgun to a machine gun to like a sniper rifle. So because you don't want to go into the menu every time and like scroll through 50 guns to find the one you need. You map your keys to a couple of your favorites, to a few of your favorites.
Yeah.
Whatever weapon you scroll through and compare to the one you've equipped is that one you have equipped. So if you're holding a handgun, for example, and you scroll down through machine guns, which by the way are not categorized by themselves, it's all in weapons. So every weapon ever is just in there, including all the different classes that I told you about. It'll tell you that, yes, some laser machine gun is better than the handgun you're currently holding. Is it better
Oh
than
shit.
the laser gun you have equipped as a favorite? You don't
Yeah,
know.
you can't do
You don't have to
comparisons
scroll
between yeah.
Ugh.
you not have to scroll through the entire thing, find the one you have equipped, look at the stats, memorize what they are, go back to the one you just found, wherever the fuck it is in your inventory, and then hopefully remember what the stats are. And you have to do that every time
Oh
between
geez.
again an endless sea of junk that you pick up. Um,
Not to mention
the
just
other thing is
fucking trying to select everything or like scroll down, the 24 pistols you just looted from a particular dungeon or like
yeah,
base or
and by the
whatever.
way, they all have like the same names, just slightly different stats. Or you might find like there's I don't know, I can't remember that. Like there's a gun called I don't know, let's call it Gunny the
Just say
Gun,
pistol.
and it's like, and then you find a modified Gunny the Gun, and then there's a modified blue Gunny the Gun, and then there's so you have like 20
With a
Gunny the Guns,
high intensity
right?
ammo.
And you have to remember what they all are. The other
Yeah.
thing that absolutely baffles me as far as like the item UI is concerned is when you're looting, right? When you're, let's say you walk up to a body of some guy that you just popped, when you roll the cursor over them, it shows you, let's say, 5 or 6 things that are on them that you can loot. Some of them are really obvious. It'll be like a note, keys, like a thing. However, some items just have names. For example, weapons. Weapons aren't called gun and machine gun. They have just names. So, like for example, there's machine guns called Grendels, and there's a machine guns called
Yeah.
Maelstrom, right?
Yeah, named
Here's the thing
weapons.
that's right, but there's also chemical compounds you find and all this other stuff that you find that have just names. When you go into your inventory, everything's broken down into general categories like gear, weapons, let's say jetpacks, right? Uh, Health items. They all have an icon next to them, along with the name of that item. Why the fuck couldn't they take those little icons and put it next to each item that you find out in the world so that you could quickly, by the way, you loot sometimes in the middle of a gunfight because you're looking desperately for ammunition. Why couldn't they just put little icons next to each item so that you know what the fuck you're grabbing instead of going, oh, Grendel, is that a machine gun? Is that a handgun? What is that? I don't remember what the fuck that is. Especially if you
Yeah,
find
there's no
you only find
pausing.
this for the
Yeah.
first. Yeah, especially if you're only finding it for the first time. That seems like such a simple UI thing that they should have absolutely implemented, and yet they fucking didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. Um, the other one of the other things that this isn't really UI related, but really annoyed the fuck out of me. There are some basic skills that you have in a game like this. You have obviously, you have things like guns, and then
Jetpacks.
you have a jetpack, and then you have a flying ship. So, how does this all work? When you first get guns, you pretty much know how to use them because this is a game and they assume you know how to use a gun. You press a button and the game says press this button to shoot, and you're like, great. Then you get into your ship, and it's like there's a robot with you, and the robot tells you the basics of how the ship works. So you know how you can fly it around, then you can shoot lasers and torpedoes and all this other fucking stuff.
Pew pew pew.
Right. Shortly thereafter, you meet this group, and they give you your first jetpack, and they're like, "Here's this jetpack," and you're like, "Awesome!" You strap on the jetpack. I ran outside, and I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna go poof through the sky," and I jumped, and I didn't go poof. I'm like,
Oh,
"All right,
God
well that's
damn
weird."
it.
I'm like, "Okay, maybe I'm in a city. Maybe jetpacks. It's kind of stupid, but all right, maybe jetpacks don't work in a city because I mean,
Sometimes,
that's
yeah.
a major disturbance." So I went onto the world, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna go poof." And again, no poo was done. So I'm like, all right, I must be
Well,
pressing the
oh,
wrong
I'm
button.
sorry. Is this you or your 3-year-old? Oh, who needs to be potty trained? Who needs to poo?
Dude, she's actually doing much better than me with that at that point.
In the
Um,
game too?
yeah, yeah. She um so I'm running around. I'm like, all right, I must be just pressing the wrong button. I'm sure at some point I'll figure it out. Whatever. A couple hours go by. I still don't understand how to use the jetpack. So I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck's going on. So I just look online and it says, yeah, you use like the jump button, but you first have to learn how to use it. So for
Wait,
and
in the game, like
yeah,
learn?
yes, no one explains this to you in the game. You have to open up your skill tree and keep in mind you only have a certain amount of skill points that you're assigned, so you have to be very selective about what you learn. One of the skills you learn is to use this jetpack. No one explains this to you. You just have
So
to
once you
kind
put
of
a
like,
skill point in it, now you fucking fly up the cliff.
yeah, but it's such a basic fucking skill. It's like, why does it tell you how to use weapons? Why does it tell you how to fly a starship? Why does it tell you how to do basic space
Right.
exploration, including mining? But this
Right.
jetpack, which apparently
Like a
everybody
tutorial
has and
mode
everybody
kind
knows,
of thing. Yeah.
everyone knows how to use. Yeah, it's like if they gave you sandwiches and then said, "Well, you can't eat the sandwiches until you learn how to eat a sandwich."
It
Like,
sounds
Well,
like they didn't
why?
create that like a simple little event structure around the spot where you pick it up, as you're approaching this says, this is a jetpack.
Yeah,
All you need to,
it,
all you need to do is put a point in the skill. If
yeah,
all they
right.
needed was
right.
something like that and it would have been okay.
Exactly. That would have been a UI thing where you're handed a jetpack and they said, make sure you learn how to use it. Like, these things are dangerous. Make sure you learn how to use it. And sure, you could say, well, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at your skill tree, you should have noticed that you could come across it. But at that moment, I didn't have any skill points. I just was trying to explore. Why would I be looking for something like that? Especially again, when it explains all the basic things that you have to do in this game in order to move around. And some of the skill levels, by the way. So, like for example, like I said, it teach like you just know how to use like most weapons. There are skill points allowing you to use more advanced weapons, like certain ballistics, and then the other skill points are usually just enhance the skills that you already have. But there's very few skills where you just learn how to do something for the first time. Like stealth is something you can't do until you learn. So like for example, if you start crouching willy-nilly, nothing happens. But if you learn the stealth skill, every time you crouch, you now have a little bar that appears above your character that says hidden, and it moves along as you're about to be like discovered or seen by somebody else. So there's like a couple of things like that. But
But
for
is
like
the skill
challenge,
gate learning the skill gated behind like story or plot? Like in other words, you have to go to
no,
a vendor or meet a
no,
particular
no.
person in the beginning?
No, you just no use a skill point. You do, however, in the very beginning when you're first building a character, and you'll see that you can pick a couple of traits that you start with. So you can pick like stealth, or you can pick like negotiation skills, or a couple of others
Hmm.
that you can sort of like start with, depending on what kind of character you want to build. Like it's like a class, basically. Like you give yourself a couple of advantages that the kind of character you plan on building, and then you just invest like skill points as you go along. With, by the way, no way to refund them, which really kind of sucks as well. You the fact that you can't respec in this game is kind of annoying, to be
That'll
honest.
be included in the DLC.
Oh boy. Or
No,
some
that'll be
mod.
yeah, mod. Um yeah, there's definitely bugs in this game. People
Yeah,
said
but
this
I
is the
mean,
most
there's no game
people are
that
like
doesn't have bugs anymore. It's like the idea
no,
that there's a bugless game. It's very rare
but
that somebody pulls off a really awesome situation from
it
the
was
get-go.
weird. It was weird to me that people were saying that this is the most bug-free Bethesda game ever made, because I played other Bethesda games and okay, maybe I didn't play them from day one, but this game, at least on my end, there's a lot of bugs. A couple of my friends that are playing on PC, they had a lot of issues as well. I've had sound issues. I've had people clipping into environments. I haven't had anything like game crashing. I'm trying to think what other things I've had. My character, for some reason, when I go, uh, there's three ways that you can view your character. You can do first person, you can do like a third person over the shoulder, and then you can do like third person that's over the shoulder but like more zoomed out, where you
Yeah.
can see almost your whole character.
Mhm.
For some reason, my views keep resetting every time. So when you talk to a character, an important NPC, you go into first person view and you have that like dialogue tree that you have with them. And
Yeah.
then when you're done, it zooms out, but it never zooms out to the correct view that I had already set. Like I have to constantly press a button to go back to where I was before. I don't know why it doesn't go back to the default
Hmm.
that
And
you already
all of
set.
these things you
And
checking settings like
no, to switch viewpoints, you just it's one button. So it's not like a
but
big thing, but it's
sometimes there's a
annoying.
gameplay part of settings that's like auto set to, three-quarter view or after dialogue go to
Um,
this view. Sometimes there's really in-depth game settings.
That's a really bad UI thing, because when it tells you how to switch views, it doesn't mention that. It just says press this button to switch views. So why the
Well,
fuck
that
would
would
it
be true, but it still could be
why would
there.
it switch? But you're right, I should check it, but why wouldn't it just stick to your default then? Why would it change it? And speaking of views, for some reason my character, whenever I'm in third person view, the one that I prefer, he's not always, but most of the time he's looking left over his shoulder, like back over his shoulder. I don't know why. Like
Oh,
I'm trying
that's
Maybe
to run
he's
in
just
games like
paranoid.
that. It could be when you approach the NPC, there could be just a simple object part of the visual engine that says rotate
Oh no,
character head to look
oh
at
no,
NPC, but
I'm in the
then
middle. I'm in the middle of the desert, like, and he just suddenly starts looking like, and I'm like, what's back there?
oh, I
What's
thought you
happening?
meant like from when you exchange from
No,
views
no, no, no,
still,
no, no. I'll just be
like from
running down the
conversation
middle
to
of nowhere,
non-view.
and all of a sudden he'll just slowly look left, and almost. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of like The Exorcist a little bit. It's weird. Another UI
That is
thing.
weird.
As far as bad design choices. So you have your list of missions, right? When you have your list of missions, if you click on a mission, it like expands and shows you all the subtasks in each mission, right? You can track one mission at a time. When you're looking at the list of missions, you can't just click on one and track it. When you click on it, it first expands and then gives you the list of subtasks, and you have to click on the subtasks in order to
Show it
track
in the
that
mini map.
mission.
Oh my god.
But
It
here,
can't just
but, here,
be like,
but
"Oh, this is where you're at in this mission." So
no, but here's the dumb thing. No matter which subtask you click on, it automatically leads you, like it shows you on the map, the next correct checkpoint in that mission. So
Oh,
if you,
so
for
it's
example, have
useless picking a specific waypoint in the middle.
exactly right, it doesn't make any. Why can't I just click on the mission to highlight to just follow
Wow.
that mission? It doesn't make. It's an extra step. Why is that in there? The other thing, speaking of missions, missions get randomly added. I didn't realize that. I had a couple of missions on there. Missions sometimes get added because you overhear something in public. So I was just there's a city you find very early in the game, and you're running through it, and I only found this out by accident because I was checking my missions at some point. I'm like, why do I have three? I've never heard of these 3 or 4 missions that are suddenly in my log. And if you expand them, it's like, go talk to Joe Bob, go talk to this guy, go talk to that. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck
And
these people are. I never engaged with anybody who told me about this mission, and until I noticed that I was running for the city, I hear like an audible NPC just like that I run by on the street saying
Hey,
something like,
don't pass
"Oh
by so
yeah,"
fast.
no. He doesn't say that. No, they're just
Oh,
talking amongst themselves. They'd be like, "Oh, I heard that that planet has good beer," and all of a sudden this thing pops up on my HUD. On top it says like, "Go to this planet, get beer," and I'm like, "Wait, I don't want to do that. Why is that all of a sudden in my missions log?"
oh,
I
that's
didn't even,
funny. You
I
happen to
didn't even
see it,
hear.
so you had
Yeah,
maybe you missed some
yeah, I
kind
didn't
of
even hear.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, something triggered that you overheard some interesting factoid, and you're like, "Oh, that might be something I want to explore." But wait,
but
there's
there's
more.
not a pop-up or an alert when it
Well, no, but that's
actually
kind of
No, there
triggers.
is,
immersive, and if you're not paying attention, but the fact
but
that it's on the journal and you're like, where the fuck
in
did this
the
come from,
Yeah,
breaks the fourth wall experience
The
of that.
problem is I am running so fast down the street, I catch 2 words of somebody saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, did you hear that?" And that's all I
yeah.
hear, and all of a sudden it says, "Go to this planet. It has a thing you need." And it's like, "But I don't know what they're
Hmm.
talking about. I didn't hear the rest of the conversation. I didn't
Yeah.
stop. It did in no way did it highlight that I should stop and listen to these people." And everyone you run into is like talking and saying random things. So you're not gonna like slowly walk by everybody and say, "You do you have some? Do you got some? Do you get some? Do you get some? Do you get some?" Some of the people you do stop to talk to, it then the game then takes you into that first person viewpoint, and you have an actual again a conversation tree with them, and then you can some they'll mention like, "Oh, I have this or I have that for
Yeah.
you to do. Do you want to make some
I
money?"
think I
Blah blah
agree
blah.
with you. If they're gonna,
And
if they're, that's a great way to introduce missions. And if the player knows about it, they'll pause. It gives incentive to actually pause and sort of like hear somebody out. But too much of that could get annoying. And like, you don't, you know how lots of them will give an icon over somebody's head, like an exclamation point or
yeah,
whatever.
none of that. Yeah, it doesn't
So
have any
it's
of that.
like if they're gonna do that, don't put it on the journal unless you stop and actually like hear like a timer of audible presence or like
Right.
some kind of
Or
trigger that
maybe
says that's more accommodable to like the fact that you paid
Yes.
attention.
There
yeah.
should be some kind
Or
of UI that when you run by somebody that says something interesting, your character should go, there should be some kind of thing that says, "Oh, there's some interesting conversation going over here. Maybe you should go listen to it." Like
Or how
something
about
instead of
uh
just
just
randomly adding a mission that you heard 2 words about, and now there's a list of people that I have to go talk to that I have no idea who they are.
or
have
just
like
at least a
something
comment like,
recreate
"Oh,
it. So
Right.
like, you hear the audio when you click on it, and or it shows a little cutscene of that character doing the silly
Right.
like, I've lost my cat. Can you please help me find it?
Yeah,
right."
exactly.
So what they could have done was have in the character's in-game voice, like the male or female voice that they are, they probably don't have one, but it like he could talk to himself and say, "Oh, maybe I'll fucking pay attention to that cat." Like if he makes
Essentially.
comments,
It could
even
just be like Metal Gear Solid with an exclamation mark. It's like there's something of interest nearby. Stop running and listen to what's going on. Like something indicator, except
but
again,
not an
not when
indicator
I run.
over the person, the NPC, right?
No.
For
Something that'll
Because
right
like
I
now,
don't. What's
right.
interesting is
for
that it would be not that way. It would be actual immersion to the audio.
no, right
Like,
Right.
now, there's some Bethesda dev going, God damn it, motherfucker. He turns his head. Didn't you pay attention?
Right. So that ironically, at that point, he did not turn his head.
Yeah.
And while we're on the
Curse.
topic of people randomly talking to you, and this was, by the way, I noticed this in all the fucking Bethesda games that I've played. And Kevin, you might be able to relate to this. Have you noticed that you sometimes will be out somewhere and someone will start talking to you and you don't see anybody? it has a weird proximity thing where it
Yeah.
doesn't it because it's an old engine, it doesn't always understand where you are in
Or
relation to
line
that
of
person. So
sight. Yeah.
once right, it doesn't right. That's much better. It doesn't understand line of sight. So once you're a certain distance from like an NPC that you have not even like acknowledged or seen yet, they'll just be like, "Well, hey, stranger, thanks for stopping by. Good thing you're." And you're like looking around, going, "Who the fuck is talking? What is happening?"
Yeah.
Dude,
So
that's
I went,
like 1990 game
yeah. So I went.
bad engine
There's this
shit.
Well,
planet that
that's
you
when
go
these
to.
engine, when was
Yeah,
Skyrim?
it's actually where it's from. Yeah, this is like from Morrowind. So you go to this one planet, and there's like a bunch of like dead people. I'm trying not to spoil too much. It's a side mission, but anyway. And you're walking up to this base, and there's bodies everywhere. And as I'm walking by, and I'm already like, "What the fuck's happening?" All of a sudden, you just hear all of a sudden like a female voice is just like, "Hey, you're here! Great!" And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like there's and this person, I was on ground level. I had to go inside the building, go up 2 flights of stairs into a room, and that's where this woman was. It was another like 2 or 3 minutes at least
Yeah,
before I
that's
actually
annoying.
walked up on her. And meanwhile, through that whole time, she's talking to me like I'm in a room with her. Like she's having a conversation like, "That's a cool thing you got. Hey, where'd you get that fancy starship? Do you have any of this? I see that helmet of yours is pretty red." And I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
what the fuck is going on? So once you find
Plus,
her,
it throws you off
you're
because
just
you
like,
think they would be located in your room, and it's like,
right, you immediately stop and start looking around and going, who the fuck is talking to me? Like
mhm.
what the hell is going on? And when you don't see anybody, you just start exploring and you eventually find this person and they're halfway into a personal conversation. They already told you about their goddamn personal life. Meanwhile, you're stumbling around just looking for where the hell they are. Like
Dude,
Yeah.
that's happened a few times.
Mhm.
Oh man, what else can I go? What else can I mention? I think that's the majority of the bad stuff. And like I said, from what I've told you, it sounds like this game is bad. I will again just kind of start wrapping this up by saying it is awesome. I fucking love this game. For all its faults, there's so much good stuff and there's so much to do. And the story so far is great. And there are a lot of like really cool like little touches in the game. Like I it's very hard to not touch on these things without spoiling, but like there's cool characters, there's cool relationships that these people have, there's interesting things that you do. There's little tiny funny things like at some point when you're on Mars, you walk into this base and there's a little counter hanging above your head that says like days since like incident, and that there's like a digital readout that says like
Mhm.
3 days since last major incident. And if you like and if you like do something like throw a grenade, like in real time, that thing will update to 0 days since major incident, like shit like that.
That's funny.
And by the way, I haven't even haven't mentioned anything about spaceflight. So I've heard some people had a problem with the way the ships control. I personally fucking love it. I
You're on a
it's
controller on the
little bit
Xbox, right?
yeah, yeah. I the way the controls work to steer your ship might not be everyone's bag. I think it's perfect. This is exactly how I want them to work. Um, and there's the way the ship's control is so fucking good. In the beginning, it's like you're driving a gigantic school bus. This thing
Hmm.
like freaks and slowly moves and like there's a real weight to it. Like you just feel this thing's like struggling. And you get to adjust your power level, so you divert power from like shields to engines. It's very intuitive and really well done. Space in general is it's a little it's minimal, but just enough to keep it
Like
interesting.
added complex. Oh, it is. It's minimal.
It's
Okay.
pretty minimal, but it's there's like again, there's a certain like not realism, but like your ship isn't like this quick little rocket like zooming through space and doing whatever the fuck you want. Like it's like I said, like these things are big and heavy. They're more like steering like submarines underwater, for example. You know what I
Because
mean?
you've
Like
done that a lot.
yeah, all the time. But I just mean that it's not like
Yeah.
piloting like an X-wing. Like every ship feels like you're piloting more uh like a freighter basically. And
Mhm.
yeah, there's different ships. There's ones that are more maneuverable, of course. But just like the sounds of these ships. Like if you can fly them also in third person or in first person. When you're in first person, when you're inside the ship, you literally like hear like stuff in the ship like moving around. You hear the ship creaking and as you move around. Like it's really great. That part is
That's
done
cool.
But
like
do you
as
mean
yeah,
like a
it's
crashing
really well.
glass? Like shatters in the back,
No,
like
no,
very
no,
far in the
no, no,
background, ambient
no, no,
style.
no, no. It's not like that. But like you feel like there's stuff in the ship that's behind you that's like actually there in there with you. Like,
Look, I think when at the top level, right, Bethesda is good at RPG content. They're kind of
Yeah,
good with the humor. I've always gotten their sort of style of physical jokery
oh,
is
there's definitely, yeah, some of
you
that.
know what I mean? Like just
Yeah,
the kind of content they do and humor and plots are pretty nice. So it's like engine ranting aside, it sounds really cool, and I'm like I'm looking forward to potentially
that's good.
unboxing it
Yeah. Oh, the
if we
combat is
switch.
also much improved. It's definitely better than old Bethesda games. It's still a little, it's serviceable. It's not amazing gunplay, but they got rid of VATS, which I know people love the VAT system in the Fallout games. I always fucking hated them. I thought the VAT system was just a way to cover the fact that they had no idea how to do combat in games. Um, so now that they
I
actually
agree,
sort of
but
figured it out,
the
it's better.
appeal, I'm a little bit more in the neutral. It was just another game. In other words, like if you didn't
Yeah.
care, like if you were trying to do sort of precision-y first-person shooter stuff, great. I understand why you'd be salty. This was like a different way, instead of turn-based or strategic or live action, it was quasi hybrid where it like leveraged an in-game tool that created the, let's say, strategic mode, and then even gave you skill sets that to improve and do weird shit in it. So it's like
Right.
you can play a tactical game and that's a genre, or you could do a first person shooter and that's a genre. So I to me, they're um let's say advertise what they did was advertise a hybrid version of both that was sort of integrated into the game. So like definitely the subjective experience is 100% valid. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say you're lame for not liking VATS at all.
Oh, I know I'm
I
not
just
lame
view it
because
as,
VATS
oh,
is
that's
you're
an
lame.
lame just
interesting
because you're lame.
way of being unique.
Of all the reasons I
Don't be
could
a
be
dick.
lame for, VATS is not one of
No, no, I get it, and it's a little weird and hokey, and I kind of like weird and hokey, but I totally understand why people wouldn't like it. Either give me a turn-based thing, or like even Baldur's Gate 3 was something, a similar conversation, I think, either with us or with the D&D group or whatever was talk. Oh, it was in whatever, a different group of people, where they thought it was more live action strategy, and they were like, I didn't realize it was turn based, and I was like, oh, it's the Divinity 2 engine, which is always a strategic combat
how
type
could you
game.
not how could you get into Baldur's Gate and not know it's a turn-based game?
Well,
How much
right, yeah.
it sounds like the
So
people
it,
that gave that Starfield sucks because it didn't have some of the things that they made up in their mind it should have.
but
Like
at
if
the
you go
end,
into Baldur's Gate and you're like and you don't know it's turn-based,
hey,
that's a you problem, man.
we don't need to rag on people. My point was, some people
Was it you?
have
Oh,
Oh, I
Kevin.
think
genre
it's fine.
Oh,
preference. No, it was somebody else. Maybe they'll listen one day. But like the my
I
point
know.
is I like both genres of games. So I don't care sort of where the hybrid lands. I just think of them as like in the spectrum of the two games. But like obviously
Okay.
if you're into live action, either role playing RPGs versus like first person shooter, I totally understand, because that's a whole different like way of playing, and you might like the Twitch shooting and all, and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so it's subjective anyway. Like
No, I get it. Yeah,
VATS,
of course.
not having
I'm,
VATS, I think it was great. They could spend most of their time more on exploration and stuff, which is kind of the appeal for me. Like what's really getting me into it is how you talk about like, oh, and you can explore and there's a base and blah blah blah. So that whole find new shit in every nook and cranny of the corner has like a Elden Ringy type of thing where I just ran every fucking where to go find anything I could. It almost sounds like that's how I'll be playing this game, and I'll be freaking doing hundreds of hours if I ever get the time.
Is
right.
there like a
Just
big
as a warning. Just a warning. This game is nothing like Elden Ring.
No, I
Just put that
understand.
out
Yeah.
there.
is there a big like base building thing? for this?
You can base builds. You can base builds. You can build bases. And I have not gotten to that part yet. From what I hear, it's a lot more. There's a lot more reason to do it than in Fallout. In Fallout 4, there was no reason to build bases. You could. There was just absolutely no reason to do it. Here, there is some reason. You could also buy a home and you can decorate it. Supposedly, I don't. Again, I'm not up to that part. It's funny.
And
One
this
of
is
the
single player, right? This
It is
isn't
single. It is, yeah, it
okay.
is single player. Yeah, maybe one day they'll
Which is
release
so
Starfield
crazy.
76 and it'll be terrible.
Well, I was gonna say 76 sort of
But
made the
Kevin will definitely
was
pre-order
their
it
yeah. Well, that was
they'll
their
send him
first multiplayer,
a
and they
space bag he can shit in. Right?
it didn't obviously review that well. But people played it. It
Fallout
was their
76?
first foregone
No,
into
no.
multiplayer.
Everybody loved Starfield. I mean, shit. Everybody loved Fallout 76. Are you kidding me?
But I would be
Every review
surprised if they don't try to multiplayer.
Starfield. Um, I I don't know, man. I gotta say, like, I like this kind of game has a certain, even though it's a very expansive game, there's a certain coziness I feel to these games just exploring on my own. Like I like just doing it on my own pace.
I
There's so much. The thing is, I don't even know if it'll work on multiplayer because there's so much to do. There's so many side missions. There's different organizations that you can join. There's all these factions you can sign up with. If you're playing multiplayer, I don't know how that would work because they all give you like different missions and they all have different sort of like reasons to exist in this world.
yeah. Well, and
There's
like
a
if
very
you
famous.
affect the story, then like how do you interact with other people with that and
I
blah blah blah.
I think it would be amazing. I don't know how this would work, both on a technical or practical level, but it would be fucking amazing if you could like exist with like two or three of your friends in this universe, and you're just all exploring it in your at your own pace in your own way,
And it's a
and then you can
server
like meet up.
saved. Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd
and you can like
you'd
meet up
have
at
to
some
have a dedicated server.
It
right.
would
So you
have to
meet up
be an
at like
instance of
yeah,
your group.
and you could meet up at a tavern at some point and just be like, I
Oh,
collected
see,
this
you know
cool
what they could
beer.
do is they could have these dedicated servers, and one member always has to be logged in, and
Well,
it
yeah,
will
yeah,
literally erase if you don't have consistency, which could be like a harsh type of thing, but you'd get these groups that would self-organize and then take
yeah.
shifts and all that shit.
Yeah, if you could
But
do that, that would be
but
fun. If you could just explore this one world with two or three of your friends on your at your own pace, like that could be
that's
cool.
cool.
It could be cool. It could be cool if you become enemies because you join certain factions that don't exactly gel together, and you could be like, well, I'm a pirate now. Like there is a way to like smuggle like you could be anything in this game. You could be an enforcer of the law. You could be an assassin. You could be a pirate. Because of all the side stuff going on.
Oh, you
There's a
know what?
main mission, but you could but there's still other things to do. There's a ton of extra things to do in this game. I keep saying that over and over again.
Actually, another way they could implement would be really cool is if they had like let's say 20 fixed instances that roll. Let's say the first player to log in it starts doing missions and affecting the world, and like those missions really are affected, and every new player that comes in like catches up to the level, so it's like this persistent world going through
Yeah,
the 600 hours of content, but as it's consumed by other players they literally are used up. So
yeah.
like then they have these fixed sort of let's say rolling progress. So like if 20 fixed servers and one goes live and like a whole bunch of people start populating the story front, and then like at the end of it you have like one
Oh,
that's
we see like that.
you
Yeah,
know so you number one is like big early and number 20 is far late game. So now you have
I.
this multiplayer scenario where you could just log it at any sort of stage that you want and sort of jump back and forth or whatever.
But then the problem is
Yeah,
if you're not playing consistently, then you're sort of out of the loop, and you could log in like a week later and be like, "What the fuck? Why is everything on fire?"
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
but
Yeah,
it still would give you an option, is my point. You just have these
I was
20
thinking.
fixed
Just
I
things
was
and
make
thinking.
play
it
towards your
so that you
level.
could host your own
Yeah.
dedicated server. This is
Yeah,
my
like
Oh,
every
universe
yeah,
that's true.
kind
That's
of
true. That's
thing.
true.
yeah. Let's say you
Or
and I.
for like $5 a month you could rent one and
Yeah.
it's hosted for
Wait,
you.
wait,
And
wait, wait.
like
You're totally right, and that's what they did for like Minecraft and some of those other games like Terraria.
yeah.
And I actually
Here we
had
go.
it for
Some
a while,
asshole always brings up Minecraft.
or Terraria. Wait, before I forget, the funniest fucking thing that I've been seeing in my like news feed, whatever, are the people playing with Starfield's physics, like shoving thousands of
The
potatoes
potato
into the
things,
freaking room and watching like the
the
physics of it
sandwiches.
bounce around. And someone had like
Yeah,
toilet paper and went into 0 G and it started bouncing around in chaos theory, and it was like
there's a
Do,
whole
fucking.
do,
bunch of
do you think
meme.
the devs are like, we spent like 6 of the best years of our life making this, slaving over
Dude,
this game,
it's a
and you're
it's a
playing with
it's a
toilet
meme.
Actually,
paper?
It's a cult.
actually,
It's a
actually,
cult thing that
they
happens
had an
to
they had an
Bethesda.
entire show, Bethesda, when they were showing off this game, an entire thing showing how you could steal other people's sandwiches and then you could hoard 1,000 sandwiches in your ship, and every sandwich is like its own physics. So
Uh,
you just open up this thing and there's just like a gigantic sea of sandwiches. Like,
It's actually it's like
yeah,
a
that's pretty
callback
funny.
that people have been
yeah,
doing since the beginning because
yeah,
there's always been these interesting physics with the objects and people would like, catapult potatoes or do weird shit. And
yeah.
then they became, shove a whole bunch of potatoes or toilet paper into a freaking room.
They also have so because I'm an idiot, I actually it's not a big deal, but like I spoiled part of the ending for myself, almost inadvertently, but they have an interesting approach to New Game Plus, which I can't discuss yet, but all I can say is that there's a thing that happens at the end, and if you start a New Game Plus, uh, there's a couple of little variables, but how do I'm trying to phrase this carefully. When you start a New Game Plus, obviously you have the same NPCs and everything like that. But what's interesting about it is that you can choose to tell these key NPCs that you meet in the beginning about what happened in the previous game, and that apparently like branches out and changes like every new game that you play a
Like
little
in the
bit.
sense of like you're breaking the fourth wall or you're Groundhog
No,
Daying
no,
it.
no. It's actually not a fourth wall break because I can't say because you have to know what happens at the end.
So hold
But
Uh,
on,
basically,
answer me this. Answer me this. When
it's
you
a
first
Groundhog
start the
Day thing then.
game, yeah,
no,
when
no, it's not that either. I would no, it's
do
no,
they write it
but
into plot? Like when I first play this game, am I gonna like, unbeknownst to me, get asked questions and my choices are going to do X? And
no,
then are you saying in
um,
game plus one,
no,
I encounter those questions again and now there's like informed decisioning?
no. Basically, something happens at the end where, and then when you start the game again, you run into this key character, which again I don't want to tell you,
Yeah.
and a thing pops up, and it'll be like, do you want to tell her about this, or do you not want to tell her about this? And
Oh.
then, it's like, and then if you tell her, it changes the game going forward, basically.
Oh, that's cool. It's written into
Yeah.
the RPG choices, the interaction choices.
Yes.
That's actually awesome.
It's somewhat limited, and it's not like I don't want you to think
It
it's not
is
like
limited because they
it,
have to write it.
it's a specific thing. It's not like you're like saying here's 3 or 4 decisions that I made during my last
Oh, gotcha.
playthrough, and that changes how she acts, that person, how that character acts towards you. Is just you're sort of saying, hey, this thing happened, or you can be like, this thing didn't happen, and then you know. So okay, like think of it this
Yeah,
way, right?
you
And
let's
this
say
is
you
this is
know something, so now there's extra options that say that were plotly written by the devs to say
there's a
like,
good there's a
uh,
good
y-
way to. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to help you because I'm obviously I can't
So this is
spoil it.
not right. So this is not what happens, but a good example of that sort of building is if you think about remember that movie what's it fuck f- Fight Die Fight Repeat, The Day After Tomorrow, what the fuck was it called? The Tom Cruise movie?
I know
Live,
what you're
die,
talking.
repeat.
Yeah,
Day
Live Die
Live,
after
Repeat.
die,
tomorrow.
repeat.
Right. So
Yeah.
like how in the beginning, like so he runs up to her every single day,
Hmm.
and instead of like introducing himself from scratch, he's like he now has that like piece of information. He's like, oh, I'm actually this character. I'm
Yeah.
actually that guy. And that changes, and that changes the complete path ever since. So
See,
it's
I
kind of
think
like
that's
that.
fucking awesome
you-
because
Yeah, you run up to this
you
character,
could
and
choose the new
she's like,
things.
oh hey, new guy that doesn't know what's going on. Do you want to go on this mission? And you're like,
and you're like,
I'm not.
no, I
I'm
do
not.
know what goes on.
You're like, I'm not
Yeah,
a new
fuck
guy. I know
that.
exactly
I'm
what's
gonna
happening.
lose this planet if I do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So right, and again, that's not exactly
It's
what
like you
happens.
tell
But
me to kill the Klingons, and actually I got in trouble for that, and I was in jail for 10 years. So fuck you. No, I don't want to kill the Klingons. Like that kind of update to the information. See, I actually appreciate it, but they really need to layer that in, and
right,
how good it is how well they do that writing.
yeah. And by the way, again, as we talk about like whether this game is good or not, one of the most telling things is that the people that I have been watching it like stream it, they're like on New Game 10 at this point or whatever. Like these
Oh,
people
God.
are no, they fucking love it. Yeah. Also,
Are
let me
That's
there
know.
fucking cool.
other, like,
Dude, if I
new
could
game plus
retire with all
mechanics?
side gig bullshit as my income, that'd be fantastic. Whether like do a
Yeah,
fucking
you
game
won't.
stream.
Kevin, you have a Twitch channel that you could be trying to make very successful and retire. So how's that going, Kevin? Let's do
Because,
a weekly
I
check-in
have
on
to like
Kevin's successful Twitch channel. How many mattresses have you received?
well, I can't obviously do this for a living because, one viewer. We're not even
I see
making money.
two. I see two. I mean, okay, I'm one of them, and
It's
I
down
think
to one.
Skippy's the other. But
Next week, 1 times as many.
that's
That's the goal.
1 times as many.
Jerry, are you peeing? Because your avatar is looking down and his eyes are twitching, and I hear something that sounds like peeing.
I'm
He's
pouring a
fucking
drink.
cracking up and almost snorting while he's trying to
Pouring a
pour a new
drink.
drink.
You are the worst. But anyway,
I can totally picture him.
the long point is this: it is a really, really. Is it a great game? No, it's a very good game. You will absolutely love playing it. You should. It is definitely worth playing. Again, not a game generation. I wouldn't even say. I don't even know if I would say it's game of the year. We all know Baldur's Gate 3 is going to get that, and that's from somebody who hasn't never even played it, but having seen it and just hearing people talk about it.
It's,
At this
well,
point, I've
first
seen
of all,
it.
it's
I'll play through it.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. Baldur's Gate is going to be game of the year. It doesn't matter though. This game is not game of the year, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter. It's just a really great fucking game. I think previous to this, I was saying I hope this game is really disappointing so that I don't have to waste a bunch of time on it, and it's not. It is phenomenal. I love it.
You're disappointed that it's not disappointing.
Yes, I had two fears. I had one fear was that it was going to be great, and I'm going to be buried in it, and it's wasting a lot of time. And then my other fear was that it's going to be a mediocre game where I'm like, I want to play it, but it's not that much fun. It's not. It's great. I love it. I don't think any time of it that I spent in it is wasted. It is very hard to put down because every time there's just something going on. Wait till you find the Mantis mission.
And the Kevin ratio is fantastic at this point.
Oh yeah, I don't even have that many hours. Honestly, like I have less than 20
Yeah, but
hours
it's
in
on
this game.
Game Pass. That's my point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it always will be on on Game Pass. Oh, it's a Play Anywhere title.
But how amazing is it instantly successful because like the Kevin ratio is ridiculously awesome.
Right. And that's what anybody goes by.
But it really does. But think about it. You do feel a little bit better being a person on Game Pass to have been able to play Starfield, a AAA, $70 game with like a $90, deluxe pack, whatever. You're playing it because I
pay nothing for Game Pass. I paid $0.
Well, besides that, yeah,
which is amazing.
Because you just browse the fucking shit out of the points and get the. Yeah, I know.
Okay, shh. Don't tell them our secret.
What?
Microsoft will know.
Yeah. No, I can't even figure that shit out. It's like
the fact that I went out and bought a $250 Xbox and now play this level of game for $0 is insane. Yeah, no, Game Pass is like I've always said that I don't care what kind of fanboy you are. I don't give a shit. All that fighting between console fanboys is idiotic. There's no debate. Game Pass is amazing. It is a steal. They will eventually raise prices on it. They already raised it, I think, by like $1 a month or something. it will get more expensive. And at that point, it becomes you have to wonder if it's enough of a value proposition. Right now, for 16, whatever, maybe $17 a month, I think it's gone up to. Game Pass is a fucking steal and a half. You have to be insane if you play with
But you
any
realize you
regularity
have to
to not have
be,
Game Pass is maddening. You have to play with some kind of
you
regularity.
have to play the sales marketing game. It's one of those coupony things where like the trick to getting it for free is for the people who will spend the time to do that. There are a huge amount of the population that don't bother or will actually pay, or they'll get it like as part, it'll get rolled in other business method models. You know what I mean? Like I think they're making their money by um rolling
Well,
it
they're
into plans and deals, and then
well,
like
Game Pass is profitable. It's already profitable. It has
yeah,
been for a while.
yeah, yeah, but like the dimension of like you could really work the the ways of getting Game Pass time if you want to by whatever points, other systems, or getting it rolled into it, like they package it in so many things. It's a giant um. There's a business term. It's like that. It has multiple verticals or
Mm,
multiple lanes to adding to
right.
the funnel. So because they do that, they're well known and they're well supported. People love it, blah blah blah. People who put the effort in feel like they got, value out of putting the effort in. People that like that their money say, "Oh, look, I get all these games on a regular basis, blah blah blah," and they just have it. So it's like you appeal to a wider base, and I think that's why it works so well. And it's like one of these things that's going to push out Steam in terms of its freaking monopoly on the whole thing. I
I
mean,
don't think
they
it'll
haven't
push
been a
out.
monopoly for a while, but
I don't know they are a monopoly, but I don't. Well, I mean they're dominant. Let's put it that way.
they're
I
losing
don't think it'll.
ground. But and like everything I just did in support of Xbox is sort of to that
They
point.
are they might be losing a little ground, but the problem is that the it also comes down to developers. Developers still love and prefer Steam,
Yeah, of
their
course.
distribution model because there's everybody knows what Steam is.
Yeah.
Everybody gets PC games on
Well, and
Steam,
they're
so they're
invested. Yeah, they
but
just go to
and
that
they
for
get
games.
and with Microsoft, the deals are a little strange. No one really knows how much money developers make when they make their games available on their service. Plus, games come and go. Whereas on Steam, you have it. Don't forget, Steam also has anybody can publish on Steam. So you have a bazillion indie games on there. People are
Right.
publishing stuff on there left and right.
As game
So
overload. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, Microsoft is also very in a very good spot right now because thanks actually to Steam, handheld PC gaming is now becoming like a whole new thing. So you've got your Steam Decks and your Legion Go Pros and your Asus Rogue Ally things that are coming out. And Microsoft is working closely with quite a lot of these manufacturers to make sure that there's an Xbox logo and an Xbox Ultimate thing built into these gaming PCs. And when you fire it up, one of the first things you see is an Xbox logo. If you watch the ads for all of them, one of the things they all have is people playing games on game that are part of Game Pass.
Yeah.
That's advertised heavily in all of them. Legion actually, Lenovo said they didn't even really work that closely with Microsoft on building this device. Their ad and the marketing for if you go to the website, it's all Xbox stuff. There's no mention of Steam, PlayStation, PC games, none of it. It's almost all Xbox. It's
Hmm.
crazy. And I promise you, if you buy a Legion thing, it'll come with like 3 months of Xbox Ultimate. That's like what they all bundle,
Right.
and Xbox obviously pays for that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, but I
that's part of
mean,
the marketing
pays
I was
in
talking
air
about.
quotes.
Yeah.
It's they're not losing money on that. It's
No,
a
no,
first
no.
one's always free kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a
And
part of a
people are saying
marketing
like,
budget. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and people are saying,
exactly.
where's the handheld Xbox? Where is that? They don't need one.
Yeah,
People are making these for them. I
no, that
still
would be
say
stupid. That would
I
be
yeah. I still say that Microsoft at this point is probably thinking very seriously about exiting the hardware game. Their Xboxes are way in back in third place behind
Unless they
Nintendo
go to the
Switches
handheld,
and PlayStation. Yeah, no, they're just
because
gonna
then it's
work.
well.
stick
No,
I
and,
don't.
and
even
Switch
They
and
that
don't
that
need.
kind of
it's
level.
No, I think
yeah.
they're. No,
Why
I think
compete?
they're gonna be games and services. They're gonna do. They're just gonna do that. Why the Xbox hardware shit is either losing money or barely breaking even, whereas Ultimate is making the money. Why do they
Well,
need to develop new hardware and
why
lose
did
money on
Steam
hardware?
make the handheld
Well, Steam
to
makes the
compete with
handheld
consoles?
because no, Steam made the handheld because and sells it at a ridiculously low price because that's a way for them to get you into their ecosystem to buy games. They lose a ton of money on each Steam Deck. They make it back because people will then buy Steam games. Microsoft is not getting into that whole thing because they're losing already, or at least they're making very little money on Xbox hardware in its current shape. For them to get into competitively priced handhelds, they're just getting into another market where they're going to wind up losing money. Why do that? They have an established brand with Game Pass Ultimate. They just and they now own a bunch of game studios. They
No, you
Yeah.
make
use it
the
in
games
support
and the
of Game
service.
Pass Ultimate. That's
No,
why. You
they
roll
wouldn't
it
make
in.
money off of it.
They don't need to. That's what I keep telling
Why?
you. Why?
No.
If you think about it, anyone with a computer, a Windows computer, already has skin in the game. So why they're writing that, and
Yeah,
that's
phones.
effectively free.
Well, it's
It
like the
comes
Phones.
with their
Lenovo
operating
one
system.
and the other brands that
So
just load Windows on it.
Well, there's that.
So
Don't
then you
forget, like
just put the
they
Xbox app there, and it's done.
right. They have Xbox apps on on phones on lightweight mobile devices like that
So you're
Logitech
just saying, I
handheld one.
mean, like I guess my point was, if it works for Steam, why wouldn't it work for Xbox? But I guess your point is, from just the hardware layer of the business model, there's already ASUS, blah blah blah, 10 Windows version handhelds
Mhm.
exactly like the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So why bother? Because they don't need to. It's already being supported by third parties.
Yes, Steam needed this, and I mean, you don't have to say they needed it. The reason I think Steam did it is because Steam still has a reputation of just PC gaming. So when somebody says, "Oh, do you play games on Steam?" and they're like, "Well, no, I don't. I don't want to sit in front of my laptop. I don't want to sit in front of my desktop." Now Steam can be like, "Well, you don't need to. You have this little portable device like a Nintendo Switch, which everybody loves. You can play PC games anywhere you go. Here you
Yeah, but
go, and it plugs in directly
why
into
not
Switch."
let an ASUS handheld run the Windows Steam and run it in big top mode? You know what I mean? Like,
Because
why did they
I'll tell you
bother
what,
doing hardware with Proton and all the other freaking bullshit to tie into the hardware?
because at the time nobody was doing the reason you have the Asus Rogue Ally and the Legion Go is because Steam did this. Otherwise,
yeah,
gaming you have handheld gaming PCs. They used to cost $2,000 and more. Steam came in and said, "No, no, no, we're going to put a gaming PC into everyone's hand, and we're going to control the narrative, and we're going to control the ecosystem right off the right off the bat."
So, but my
And
point
that
is,
so
ASUS.
they're forcing the hand of other people. They actually helped other players like Microsoft by doing so, but they don't care. That's fine. It
But
doesn't hurt them.
so they what they do is they make a Steam Deck and they say this is only going to run ours. You're not going to be able to run your Xbox without finagling. And to be honest, they actually there's whatever, we figured that out. That was a different
Yeah,
conversation. But like in the ASUS version or the third party versions that are all Windows, they can still run Steam too.
they can.
yes,
Yeah, they can.
And like,
So Steam made it so that these can exist. So not only can they run Windows stuff, but guess what? They now have even more handhelds out there that can run Steam that can provide an income for them. Because not everybody might want a Steam Deck. Somebody might
so
want one of
even
these high-end
Steam
PC
themselves
ones.
can stop with their, Deck 2 will be available, but they don't have to keep making like the better picker upper every freaking year, like cell
No, they
phones or
they
something.
no, they literally created they not lit- okay. They pretty much created this market space.
Yeah,
They're
right, sure.
yeah,
But it'll be the same as like Microsoft from the point of view of Steam. I mean, yeah, Steam or Valve doesn't really need to be in the hardware business either. They shouldn't be. They're literally losing money on it. Now that they've created the environment, do they really need the flagship thing, or do they need to post develop after 1 and 2?
well, you could make the argument they want to stay with it because again, it's still an ecosystem thing and they still get to control that. So there is some benefit to them. Because you're right, you could have a couple of people like me or you who'll just buy, a handheld PC like an Asus one or a Lenovo one, and stick strictly with Game Pass.
So you're
But so,
saying if they really
but
get
Steam Deck,
into like top edge, like best, you know, dedicated Proton with like drivers and blah
Well,
blah blah,
it's
then they get to set the benchmark, is what I'm hearing. In term,
well,
and
not
even
not
if they,
necessarily benchmark, but so let's say, and I'm pulling these prices out of my ass. Let's say a Steam Deck is $500 and the Rogue Ally is $800. The performance of the Steam Deck is going to be more towards the $650 worth, but just for games, and the performance of the Rogue Ally might be around that same $650 value for games, but because it's more of just it runs Windows, it's not necessarily optimized for the games. You could do more with it, but it might be like the equivalent of playing games on a Steam Deck or something like that. It's
yeah,
like the Steam Deck can be tweaked and tightened for just to play games versus being able to do anything.
yeah. So some
keep in
collection of
mind, you can
hardware statistics could affect that too. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I
keep
was
in mind your
definitely
Steam Deck
just.
can also be made to dual boot into SteamOS and Windows, or you could just run Windows on it if you really wanted to.
It actually looks like um when I did that process to add Xbox, you actually go out to desktop, which looks like Windows already. If it like, and I was, um, installing Edge from the internet.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Well,
it's
it's just running Linux.
yeah, it's interesting. The Linux UI must have been so close to Windows that I didn't even pick up on it because I knew it's not running Windows.
I remember in like the 90s thinking like Linux was worlds ahead of Windows and UI and all the funky cool shit that you could do. And I remember like, oh, what distribution do I want to run and all that. It was cool.
Hmm.
It was fun to play. But yes, it's just a typical windowed environment. They had Windows before Windows had Windows.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, you'll see. You're gonna get a whole bunch of these handhelds
So,
now coming out. I promise. It's gonna
so
be. I
we're
mean, there already
like,
are a bunch.
I was gonna say we're rolling on 2 hours, and are we
Yeah, that
doing
was.
partial, or do you just want to keep bullshitting about other
I
topics
think we
on the
should do partial.
list?
I would do partial. I think we should actually start working towards wrapping it up so you can test out some Starfield. But I'm open for whatever.
Oh, I
We
don't
could
get
do
to
it.
complain about how horrible Wheel of Time is.
Uh,
Have you?
isn't by
Did
the
you
way?
watch
Isn't
all 5 episodes, or
No, I
is it?
think we watched like three of them, and each one is more cringeworthy. And I'm rolling my eyes, going, "Why the fuck am I watching this?"
Wheel of Time is on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Man,
yes,
See, I'm
and
fine
like
with it.
they
the
struggle with originals. All
the
right, let me.
first season was like loosely based on the books, and I think the second season is kind of like, so there was something with a guy named Rand and a horn. Okay, well we would don't. That's all I need. I'll work around it. Like
Dude,
it's fine. We got it.
you're like the thing that it doesn't bug me. You guys, are happy or not based on it. But I always view the video as bonus content. It's like plus. It's not
Oh,
a retelling and they're failing the honor of the original
exactly
and it
what it is.
sucks and I'm like, yeah,
It's horrible.
give me more. So like, don't get me wrong,
No.
they are sort of so disjointed and like linking timelines and telling the story and jumping around the
It's
book
horrible.
concepts in a
But it's
little bit
called
of a
Wheel of Time.
haphazard way, and it's funny when I go, oh, okay, that's what they're trying to connect to. You have to make the connections between what they're showing you to which part of all the fucking novels they're pulling it from. It's
No,
not going to be sequentially in a book. You're looking at like 3 books being a whole smattering of pieces of world content information coming at you sometimes with like a different character and
and
like.
I'm watching all this going, wow, they took great books that were like already awesome. And
But
like
here's the
they were
thing,
written.
Robert Jordan, great
No.
books, awesome world building. They are a fucking slog to read through. There
Well,
is no
I'm
Robert.
not
It's like,
saying
oh yeah, that's how we all rag on, on our favorite, world building author. But still, he wrote fucking really hard books to read through. Sometimes you fall asleep,
yeah,
or you're
they
like, oh
are
my god, when are they getting to the point of this one? So like,
they right, but you
I'm
could
actually kind of
just
glad they're sort
speed
of
that up.
jumping around.
They're
To
they're
be
not
honest with you.
they're not just speeding it up and unslogging. They're just like butchering all this stuff. They're just like let's I feel like
I
this
would
guy
just
needs some
use that one
motivation here,
adjective,
so let's
butcher,
give him something and
Cliff
let's
Notes with
no.
sassy weirdness.
It's I feel
They're
it's the
doing a couple of
equivalent.
things that make me roll my eyes, and I'm like, really? Was that they couldn't connect that one?
No.
Wow, okay, so that's how they want to do that one. So it's kind of like this. My When I go through it, I experience what you're experiencing. I know I am. I just choose to let it be bonus material instead of like, all right,
I no.
this isn't a retelling of the books. I'm just gonna watch this reincarnation of it.
I can't deal with that because as I read these books, I was like, wow, I wonder how this would look. Like I get my internal visualization of it. And then I'm like, I wonder what this would look like on the, big screen or the
Yeah, and you
screen in
picture
general.
shit.
And it like what I've got, it's like it's the equivalent of if the John Wick series, as we've seen it, was a book, their TV adaptation would be like, so hi, I'm John. Here's my bow and arrow, and I like to shoot people with it. Pew pew, ha ha.
And then I
Like
can
I'm
take
like,
my
what the fuck?
pencil and stab somebody's eye.
It's
No,
like,
I
but I
look,
can
it's not
also do
that's a little
lovely
bit
calligraphy.
mockery, of course, and it's
Yes.
comical and beautiful that you're using that. But still at the at the same time, it's I think I the only person, or let's say actor, that I can't really deal with yet is Egwene. I don't like that actress. Oh, we can't hear you, Skippy.
Yeah.
How about
There you
that?
are.
Is
Yeah.
that better?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
No,
know
it's
how
not
long you've
better.
been trying
We
to
could just
talk.
hear
I
you
thought you were
now.
just
oh,
laughing
okay. I'm
at
sorry.
us waiting to interject because we were blowing. You loved the back and forth.
I made a hilarious joke that will never be heard because I was muted and now it doesn't make any sense.
Oh,
I'm
thank
sorry you
God.
missed out.
Yep. You could say it
Yeah.
now and attempt to,
No,
pardon the
no.
interruption, but here's the plot
The
line, the
moment,
joke that I won't actually say for another 10 minutes because I
the
fucked up.
moment has
So
passed.
Kevin said, "Brr, brr, 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 brr," and then Jerry said,
No, no, he could just say what he
so
wants.
I
There'll be
said,
crickets, but he could go put it
oh
back
yeah.
in and edit it clapping.
No, it's okay. Go back to your terrible show. It's fine. Which
Yeah,
is
see,
By
I
which
the
is
knew
way,
based
we
on
would agree on something.
my
very mediocre books. Go ahead.
the
No,
chewy
the
started to hit me
books
a
were
little while
great.
ago. That's why you got
Books
me
are
all
horrible.
chatty. What?
I've never read them. I have no idea what I'm talking
No, I again, to me, when you view it through the lens of it being bonus material and like a character, it's like a retelling of a story. Um, it's like Little Red Riding Hood told after 50 years, like reinvented, like a retelling for modern times. Like, or how many movies have been literally
So the
refilmed?
Skank Ho was walking through
about.
the
We should
hood,
You know what you remind me of? There's a whole thing where it's a thing on Twitter, X, excuse me. Uh, describe a plot of a movie in a really boring way. So like, there's like a whole bunch of these. Like, there's one for Die Hard, or it said like, man goes to Nakatomi Towers to pick up his wife, eventually succeeds. Like stuff like that. Like that's what like this sounds like, basically.
Yeah,
No, but there's
it's
definitely, let's say, book-inspired movies where more than one movie has been made after like 30
Yeah.
years or 40 years.
yeah.
I
God, I
can't think
hope
of
they
one right
reboot
now,
this
but
soon because it's sucking as it is.
anyway.
I like,
I mean,
by all
obviously the end
means.
result is still unhappiness and like disgust every time you watch it, so I can't help
Oh,
how
it's
the nerves are
painful.
firing in your body. And I
It
feel for you. I'll hold
it
space for
You
your
know what?
pain while I watch it and laugh.
like I
Speaking of
kind of
which,
just want to mute it and just read the book.
I
Oh,
actually
read the
wanna.
book and see weaving happening?
I'm not actually gonna read Wheel of Time, but I
You
am.
should.
I am. No, I am searching for something new to read because I'm giving up on the Dark Tower books because I am bored out of my fucking mind. I thought I would be able to read through them, and I no. So that was gonna be my thing that I think I mentioned a while ago. I was like, I'm gonna read through all the Dark Tower books, and I have read through a bunch of it, and I have decided I am not gonna keep reading through the Dark Tower books. So I need something else.
Well, what are
I want to read
you in
something.
the mood for?
I have no idea. I want something epic, man. I want something to really grab me. I don't know.
Honestly, that's so like fucking Wheel of
By the
Time
way,
is as epic as you're gonna get. So
yeah,
I think.
but
Maybe I'll read
but
Wheel of Time. All
also
right.
when Brandon Sanderson wrote the last one, that's when I got super excited and loved the books, and like
I have to
that
get to the
that
Oh,
last one.
that's
really?
it.
No, no.
That's when it changed.
I thought they were what Kevin says about slogginess is a little bit accurate. It does
Uh,
take a long like he's a little bit verbose and like
you're not selling
I've
us at all,
no, no, no,
basically.
no. I've heard people complain that like the first book takes a while to get off, but I mean, it really he has this he pulls you in and introduces you to these characters as they are. And he takes some time to do that, but then you really know who these characters are
It's
Four,
because
as
there's
they
a
start
massive
hang
out.
on,
amount of
hang on.
characters.
Yes.
14 volumes, 14 books.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my
There
God.
it's great.
Dude, the way
And
he
Jesus.
but then
weaves the character growth of like
I see what
six
you
main
did.
characters,
Uh,
not to mention the evil antagonists, which are, I don't know, 13 or however many there are. That whole scale of it is what's amazing. The amount of world building and in parallel character development is fantastic.
is this going to be the kind of thing where I have to keep track of 50,000 characters whose names are somewhat similar?
Yes,
I
kind of.
yes and no,
Uh,
but I
No, not
honestly I've
similar.
never
Weird as
had
ass to pronounce. Like
mm,
I had to
I've
fucking read the dictionary at the back.
All right. So here you
Uh,
go. If you're talking about what kind of books I want to read, I want to read something that centers on like a core character or group instead of. I have trouble keeping up with those. And the worst thing about them is if you take a break from those books, oh God, coming back to them is impossible because you
you would
completely forget who the
like.
fuck everybody is.
I could get you some books I think
read
you would
what we're
like. There was
reading
some
now.
morbid, really
I,
awesome
it
like fantasy
doesn't
books
have
with
to,
some morbid
it doesn't
level
have,
stuff.
it doesn't have to be morbid.
No,
As long as everybody dies and suffers,
no, I
then
mean
that's
like
fine.
dark, but not morbid per se, but dark and pretty freaking fascinating as a thought experiment.
I want something like The Expanse. Give me that. Oh, maybe I
Did
should
you
read The
Oh,
read
that's
The
a.
Expanse. Maybe I should
Expanse?
read The Expanse.
I mean
Dumb
so
fuck.
that's a sci-fi one.
There you go.
Yeah, no,
And we're done here.
no, but I saw the show. I'm not gonna read. I'm not gonna read. I know there's more books to be on the show. Maybe I should read the other one. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But they're gonna make shows about it though. Eventually, why would I read a book if there's a show about it?
Actually, okay. So here, that's a great thought experiment. Read the books after the show and let us
I
know what
can't
you
do.
think.
I really can't do that. I tried that with fuck, what did I do that with? I tried that with some show and I had a miserable time because yeah, I was just waiting for things to happen. It was just annoying me that things were taking longer to get to. Like when I know, and it was like, and I'm like, oh, who are you trying to fool? I know that person is gonna die. Stop it. Like it
I
almost seems like if you find failure in the writing because you know, like it's not the fault of the author, but you're just like, oh, this is so obvious. Come on, man.
I call bullshit because what you're doing right now is basically describing watching Wandering Earth 2 after watching Wandering Earth 1.
No, that's not it. Give me a break. Also, ooh, is Wandering Earth a book? I'll read that.
That's hilarious.
Can you can you imagine reading Wandering Earth 1? I
No,
can't. Like watching it was so painful. Can you imagine reading that?
I don't want to. I don't
Imagine
even want to imagine it.
imagine taking 10 minutes to get through this instead of the 2 minutes where they shoot a planet with a machine gun. Imagine reading about it for about an hour.
And the spent casings
Yeah.
slowly drifted off into
Okay.
space until they were caught in the gravity spike from Jupiter, whatever the fuck a gravity spike is, as if that's actually a thing. Like, oh look, somehow the gravity just like jumped up for some reason. Like, no, that's called falling. It's not a gravity spike. You just fell, you dumb fuck.
Okay. All right. We're detouring there. We're
Okay.
wandering off path.
Wandering off the earth.
Yes. Anyway, so
Here's
yeah. So
one
my
for you, Skippy. If you want a series, it's a 5-part series. In fact, I didn't even realize it had a fifth book.
why don't okay? Why don't you tell me about it and then we can talk about it off show while you
Yeah,
play
right.
Starfield.
Well, it's also for yeah.
Okay.
So
What's the name
the
of the
Book of the
series?
New
I'll put it
Sun,
right now.
the Book of the New Sun series by Gene Wolfe.
Book of the New Sun. Let's see what we got here. I want to see if I can read the synopsis. Book of the New Sun.
The first book is called The Shadow of the Torturer.
Oh my God, the cover is terrifying. It looks like this man has children in his basement, and that's just the start of this problem. It's a four volume science. Wait, you said it's five. Are you sure this is 4 volume? Well,
Apparently,
it doesn't matter. Well, it's fine. The 4 volume science fantasy novel written by American author Gene Wolfe. Blah 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 blah
it's
blah blah
definitely got
blah.
gruesome,
The
morbid
tetralogy
parts of
chronicles
it.
the journey of Severian, a journeyman torturer who is disgraced and forced to wander. It is a first person narrative ostensibly translated by Wolfe into contemporary English and set in a distant future where the sun has dimmed and the earth is cooler. Oh, like cool, like a. Severian lives in a nation called the Commonwealth, ruled by the Autarch. In the southern hemisphere, it is at war with Asia, that's spelled very differently with a C. Its totalitarian northern neighbor. In a 1998 poll of subscribers, Locus Magazine ranked the tetralogy number 3 among 36 all-time best fantasy novels. All right, this is
Oh, the
horrifying, but
shadow of the torturer.
Yeah.
The
yeah, the first
claw of the count. So I don't know, but yeah,
Shadow of the
this
Torturer, the
totally.
Claw of the
it has a
Conciliator, the Sword
it
of the
comes with a
Lictor.
it comes with a world map. It must be good.
That was actually a
The
really fun read.
Citadel.
A
Jesus,
little,
The Severian as a Christ figure. Oh my God.
I don't know about that.
Keep in mind, I want to read
Oh
this before I
fuck!
go
They
to
had
bed.
you had to say that. God damn it!
All right. Well, I'll check it out. Either way, thank you for your recommendation. I will take it very seriously. Um. Anyway, my vote still stands that I think we should wrap this up. It's
Sure.
actually getting kind of late.
So how about we'll
And
Sounds
start the
good.
ending
the
soon?
so wait, what do you mean ending soon? Where are all your closing
You still
thoughts,
get to
people?
talk.
Ugh, I don't want to talk if nobody can see my face. People come here to look at me, not listen to me. Look at this. Look
Oh,
at this.
that
Look at this.
gorgeous beard there.
Look at this. Look at this youthful face. Mm.
Excuse me. Sorry, I had a little
Okay,
something.
I'm just gonna close my thoughts with just saying, go play Starfield. You won't regret it,
Yeah.
unless you don't like those kind of games, in which case you will severely regret it. But I don't think you will. Go
No,
play it.
I'll be fine.
Then
I'm not.
my
I mean,
closing.
I'm saying this out to everybody. It's not just
Yeah.
about you, Kevin.
Good job.
God damn it, Kevin.
Then my closing thoughts will
My
be
closing thoughts are, oh shit, I hope this starts okay.
mine are
Should.
read Wheel of Time. Don't watch it.
Okay, I might do that actually. Either way. Hey Jerry,
Listen to
since
Wheel of
you're
Time. Don't read
yeah.
it.
No, I'm listening to I'm listening
Listen
to
to if benefits. You can fast
Yes,
forward the speed to 1.2, and you'll still comprehend everything.
and
no,
you know how to pronounce all the weird names.
no. I am
Oh, by the way,
whatchamacallit?
fantastic,
God.
fantastic. What do you call those people that read the books?
Narrator,
Narrators.
the, the
There's a
people that read the
woman
book.
and a man, and they're both top of their class. At least the Audible version. Fantastic. Listen. That's how I did. I redid the books for the second time using Audible.
Cool.
That's my final words.
Okay. All right. So, hang on a second, since Jerry will
Are you
not
ready for ending
freaking.
soon?
Well,
I will not what?
I'm trying to handle a bot situation. If we had a reliable moderator doing their fucking job.
Oh, I don't know how to like block
Just put the
people
filters
or
on.
No, it's fine. I got it.
there's like a
I got
sword
it.
here.
I got it. It's done.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Thank you.
yeah. All right. So let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to people that stopped by. Thank you, Kevin and Jerry, for your insightful views.
Thank you, Skippy, just for
Yes.
being you.
Thank me for taking the time to shave and appear on this podcast and stream in
Did you
my
take
youthful elegance and greatness.
did
That's a
you
good
take
length
the clippings
for you,
and
by the
put
way.
them in an envelope and mail them out? You could sell them like
No,
you were
no,
selling jars of farts or
You know,
something.
they would
no.
never
I'm gonna glue them
believe.
to my daughter's face while she's sleeping, so she has
Oh
like a
my
Lincoln
God.
beard.
Jesus.
What? It's beard. I'm
That's
gluing
awesome.
a beard to her face. Shut up.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how to raise my kid.
Oh,
I
put a
already.
beard on her. Go for it.
I will. Anyway, all right.
All right. So
So we're
ending
gonna switch up.
soon.
Yeah, Kevin is gonna fire up some Starfield, and I'm gonna yell at him because that's what I do.
This has been a production of
It's just me.
Studios.